I was just devastated and bashed around by embarrassment. To make a lot of mistakes on shows like Marae, like My Time, like My FM, I could have easily given up. Well, what I realised is that you don't need to have some qualifications or some experiences to be Māori. So you have this whakapapa, you have this culture inside you that will resonate inside you. It will be louder in some people's ears than others.
There's a period of adversity, and the period I'm talking about is the sort of late 90s and into 2001 when your mum, Sue, passed.
She was, I guess, the sun in my sky, really. I remember hearing someone wailing, and I thought, who's that? It must be Hinui. And it was me. I didn't even know. It just come out of me. And that's the deep well of grief. I didn't like how life kept on going. I didn't like how I just felt like, well, the sun's fallen out of the sky. It shouldn't be just like a normal day. I have been blessed to have a love that if you ever get it once in your life, then you are absolutely blessed. And I didn't think that was going to happen. I remember being 31 and oh, that's it. Never going to get married, never going to have kids. What's going to happen? I'm not going to meet the man of my dreams and have 2 kids by 35, and that's exactly what happened.
You know, at the start when I said I was feeling a bit intimidated about sort of speaking Māori, did that hurt you?
This week on Between Two Beers, we talk to Stacey Morrison.
Stacey is one of the most recognisable voices and faces in New Zealand media. 30 plus years on our screens and airwaves, What Now, My Time, 2 decades on Flava Breakfast, a UN Goodwill Ambassador, Te Reo champion and best-selling author. But this episode isn't really about broadcasting. It's about what it costs to become who you actually are.
Stacey grew up in Christchurch without te reo at home. Too scared to join the whānau unit at high school, in her 20s she decided to learn from scratch. She gave herself a deadline to be fluent before her first child was born and hit it. Then she wrote the books. She's also lost her mum Sue to breast cancer at 45, fallen apart on the other side of that and rebuilt herself again, and we cover it all.
This is one for anyone trying to grow into a version of themselves that doesn't quite exist yet. You're going to love it. Between Two Beers is proudly brought to you by One New Zealand. We believe that One New Zealand connects New Zealand, while Between Two Beers connects New Zealanders. And together, we are New Zealand's most trusted connection platform.
Between Two Beers is also supported by TAB. Keen for more action on sports and racing? Download the TAB app or visit tab.co.nz to get your bet on. R18, bet responsibly.
And Seamus and I are also proud to be dressed by Barkers. Check out their range at barkersonline.co.nz.
Enjoy.
Stacey Morrison,
Kia ora.
welcome to Between Two Beers.
Kia ora kōrua. Thank you for having me. It was unexpected, actually.
We're very excited to have you in the One NZ studio today. I had a bit of a plan for the start of this episode, but we're going to derail it because we had a conversation before we started about algorithms and what's in your algorithm. So what's in your algorithm, Stacey?
I think my point is, what is Instagram screaming at middle-aged women? And so they're telling us we need protein, we need collagen, we need hormones, we need basically so many different things. And I'm just wondering if that's happening to you. Like, what's the equivalent? What are you getting told? Because I'm just like getting so many ads that feel like a personal attack, like undiagnosed ADHD, and you need this for your teeth, and you need this for and you need this serum. It is just, I'm just wondering if it's something that particularly happens to women.
Yes, I don't get any of that. I get golf stuff.
Your protein's good though. Your levels of protein are good.
What are you getting?
I get a lot of food stuff, but I feel like it's because I watch cooking stuff. I get a lot of US politics analysis and breakdown. I have a weird side kind of thread on some erectile stuff, which
Just a side thread.
I don't know how that's I don't know how that's ended up on my algorithm, but that comes through, and that's most of my stuff.
Yeah. See, they're not selling to you as much, are they?
No, I don't think so.
But I mean, I do. Yeah, as soon as you Google something, you get fed up all of the stuff. And I remember doing a test a while ago, and it didn't work because I thought if you just think something, somehow your cell phone will know what you are thinking and be able to feed it back to you, but it didn't because I was thinking about frying pans.
But if you said frying pan,
well, now I've said it.
Yeah, let's see what happens now because it's genuine. Your microphone setting's still on by default. So yeah, I'm not talking about protein or collagen, but it's just going, she's a woman with a credit card and she's not afraid to use it.
Yeah.
And that's who is being targeted
Yeah.
on Instagram right now as we speak.
You didn't answer though. What are you getting fed?
Just golf.
Just golf?
Yeah. I can't think of anything else.
This reminds me of when women go, what are you thinking about? Men go, nothing. And you go, but what are you thinking about? Nothing.
It's just got that monkey clinging the symbols together.
Actually, I've got a newborn at home, 3 months, so I do get a lot of dad stuff on my algorithm as well.
Okay, that was an unusual place to start.
Sorry.
But,
It's good.
The actual place we start is also unusual. And we spoke to half a dozen people in the prep for this episode, and 4 of them told us to ask you about the same 2 things. So the first one is that you can put your fist in your mouth.
I knew this would get the eye roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, I can.
Yeah.
No, what happened was I was watching a US TV show back in the day, and she said on a dating show, like as it would be alluring, that she could fit her whole fist in her mouth. And I was like, I'm sure I could do that. And so I did that, but I hadn't done it in public before. And when I did do that in public, I went, oh, that's.
What was the public setting that you decided to pull that party trick out?
It's a really good question. I think I was on a Mike King show.
That'll do it.
Oh, yeah.
That'll do it. And I think I also did it at a wānanga beforehand. So I kind of, so it's a problem. You get a party trick and then you do it and you... Who said that? I mean, I got a little bit famous for it, and it blows me away. Just, like it's a really niche group of people that remember that.
Well, you must know what the second one coming then is as well, right?
Yeah.
Your
Which
other party
is-
trick.
Yeah, how to do it. I'm going to take one of my rings off.
But you can... Oh, no. I wasn't going to ask you. I was going to ask you to do it. Oh, of course you can.
No, it's
I
fine.
meant the second... Well, hey, I shouldn't have interrupted. But the second party trick or the second thing that we got told to ask you about. So first is the fist in the mouth. The second would be...
Was it handstand wall twerks? All right.
You got it.
Yeah.
Got it in one.
Yeah.
Got it in one.
Yeah.
But with the fist thing, like, did you, then when you heard about it, did you try to do it?
Yeah, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
How'd you go?
Oh, not good.
Yeah.
Nah. It was quite impressive, I thought.
You've
Wow.
got quite a tight jaw, though, traditionally.
That's the thing that people say. And they start to go, well, hang on, how big are your hands? And they should be proportionate. Oh, no.
There's no chance that's going anywhere near anything.
Yeah.
Our algorithm is going to be ruined after this conversation, though. By the way.
And my work is done here. But yeah, I did know about the handstand wall twerk. But that was because I have younger siblings, and we're kind of like, you need a flow chart to understand our whānau, because Dad has been married 3 times, Mum was married twice. And so I have siblings who are 20-something years younger than me. And so one of them, she did that, like in her 20s phase. She did, this is a handstand wall twerk. And I was like, I'm sure I can do that. And then it just became a thing.
Because a twerk is a relatively, from my understanding, it's a relatively new dance move in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I think with handstands, it's good because then you're using, you lose upper body strength. It's good for men as well. It's just one of those things that you shouldn't, I don't recommend you do it, like in the main street of Hamilton or the bars that I know that my husband frequented when he was at uni. But, in the safety of your own home, I just think it's good.
Did you try doing that one as well?
No, I didn't try and do the handstand twerk. I know that would be a failed experiment. Anika Moa said that was the moment she realised you were a real G when you did that.
Yeah, I feel like she had many more chances to realise that because I've known Anika for a really long time and interviewed her when she was about 17.
First interview, she said?
Yeah. So, you just, someone like Anika and you go, oh, wow, she's gone through so many phases of life. And so I feel, I feel really proud of her. And I love how she has kind of really shared so much of her genuine heart and way of being and stuff. But I did know that it was a bold choice from me to say, hey, talk to my friend Anika. She's so verbally unpredictable.
She really is. The transcript is got to be seen to be believed. It was one of the all-time research calls I've ever had, that's for sure.
Yeah, so real G, and there's probably a few other letters there.
Yeah, there was a couple of C's. But just constant stream of thought, the way that she communicates, which was really interesting.
Yeah, well, now she knows why that is. Yeah. The other letters after her name. Yeah. Yeah.
And the other one we spoke to was your sister Tash, and she said you can swear like a sailor, and said that she's been around rugby league people her entire life and still blushes at some of the language you two use together. The question, and the genuine question to come after all that, is the real Stacey, is how much does the home version differ from sort of, I guess, what we've seen on screen or radio across 30 years? Is there much difference?
Not really, but there's just, if I'm in some settings that wouldn't be appropriate, but it's more like you just when you see something and you go, it'd be funny to see what people's faces did if you did that, like to sort of go, oh, this is a bit unpredictable. But it's really genuinely only because I'm interested in something, like naturally curious to go, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could do that. My friend went to the Oscars the other day and went, I wonder how many people can fit inside that theatre and how big is that compared to the Aotea Centre. So it's really just being curious and nosy. But the thing about language, and I do have a couple of languages I could use, but I think it's sometimes, you just get into a mode or get into a kind of dynamic with people. And my dynamic with certain people is just, it's probably only a few that see that side of me.
We are going to try to get, I want to start by asking about coming down. Like, we are so grateful that you've come down and driven down to chat with us, and we're going to cover all of your incredible life and career. Where are you at right now? Like with life, and I imagine you've been thinking about what you're going to say as you're coming down. Like where are you at?
I think it's an interesting thing. I decided to describe what I do for a job now as a Kaupapatologist, and I just made up that term, that I'm doing lots of different kaupapa. Because I realised when I finished on the radio, people will naturally say, so what are you doing now? And a lot of the time when people ask you a question like that, they're kind of asking for something that they can make sense of. So I know, say, a lot of people have had job changes lately, and so they might feel like a pressure to say this or do this kind of understandable job. And I didn't want to race to do that. So what I am trying to do is choose to be in the right places that make a difference for my whānau. So to have some flexibility, to be able to go see our son who now lives in the Gold Coast, to my husband's really busy. We have 2 teenage girls at home. And then also I haven't really seen a full-time job that I might try to go for as yet, but I'm doing lots of different gigs. And actually gig work and kind of fractional work, all these different things. That's the way that they talk about it now in the sort of digital world. But I'm just calling it kaupapatology, doing different kaupapa, things that go, oh, that's a kaupapa that I'm into. Like when I heard from you, I thought, oh yeah, that's a cool kaupapa. And if you don't know you know what kaupapa means like that, eh? But it kind of gives a sense of...
Do you feel you have to do that a lot?
Yeah.
In your everyday conversation of dropping te reo in conversation and then just sense checking to see whether the audience it's landing with the audience?
You can tell in people's eyes usually, and then sometimes you can see. What I get a bit sad about is that people might go to say, you said that you do, and you can see them go, I don't want to say it anymore. And I'm actually, I want to encourage them. No, it's okay. Don't worry. I stuffed up the word kaupapa in front of some of the most fluent speakers when I first went to Waitangi, and I died inside and tried to shake it off and went, you know what, I have to get better. So it's okay. But my thing about kaupapa is it kind of suggests I guess what Japanese call ikigai. Like there's an element of purpose. There's an element of something that's meaningful for you. So if you're lucky enough to do that, then that's why I feel like, it's just about doing good kaupapa.
We were looking at the photo board out there before we came in and connecting the dots and making connections with former guests. And we spoke about one, and you were working on a project, or the initial stages of a project with them, and you dropped in, it's just kaupapa. And I was like, that's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting. And now to hear you explain about that, it's flexible working conditions, right?
Yes, gig work. Yeah, it's fractional work, all of that. But for me, that I kind of... I find it interesting because work is changing a lot for a lot of people. Like for you guys, when you decided to do this full time, how did people in your world react?
Oh, I think people in my world still don't think it's a real job. they still like, oh, you okay? Oh, that's full time, is it? That's your job. It's like,
yeah. A lot of that to start with, and then as the show got bigger and more people knew about it, it became more normal. Yeah, there's a weird sort of transition period.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could say company director or something like that, but I mean, that's a sort of wank, that it's not me. And so what I did realise is that when you finish a certain job that's been seen, and, being fortunate enough to, people care about it because it was a public job or whatever, you need to have an explanation. I've seen my mate Jenny may go through that. People just want to know. But part of why they want to know is like, so am I doing the right thing? Like, should I try to do things like that? Or what does work look like now? Because it's quite a scary time in terms of work. Like, is everything the same? What can I count on? And those things realistically are changing. People who never had to worry about job security now do.
When we were structuring the episode, I thought it's important to read your CV. Like, there's so much in here. I want to give the listeners an appreciation of kind of like the breadth of work you've done. So bear with me for a few minutes. So you started on What Now, and then there was Marae and My Time and In Focus and Testination and Marae Testination and Celebrity Treasure Island and Showstoppers and Let's Cook and Sportscafe, where you were a producer. Yeah. There's Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. There was Rethink. There was 2 seasons of that. There was It's in the Bag. There was Whānau Living. There's 7 Sharp. There was National Treasures. There was Home and Away as a cultural advisor. On radio, there was My FM and My Breakfast and Flava Breakfast and Classic Hits Morning Show and The Hits Drive Show. And you've written and co-written multiple books, including a children's book, My First Words in Māori, that became a #1 bestseller. You were a UN Goodwill Ambassador, an ambassador for the Breast Cancer Foundation, a former 2-term representative on the New Zealand Family Planning Council, a rape crisis volunteer, and a chair of the Spark Foundation, and of course, a wife to Scotty and a mother of 3.
There must be some school stuff in there as well.
There's missing stuff, right? So I guess the question at the end of that is like, that sounds like a life well lived with a lot of balls in the air. When you hear me read that back out, is that what comes to mind? Does it feel like a life well lived?
Yeah, and it's not finished yet. And lots of different kaupapa. Yeah, so I guess, I referred to ikigai, that Japanese talk about as your sort of life purpose. What's the intersective things that you are good at, the things that will help the world, and the things you can get paid for. A lot of those things I didn't get paid for, by the way. But just some things where you go, it feels right. That's what I need to do. So a lot of those things were along those lines. They're kind of they probably show my interests. And then, like you say, the other random stuff is, different part of me. But I guess in learning Te Reo Māori, that definitely became a new kind of director for my life of, bringing up our kids with Te Reo Māori as their first language, then realising this is really hard. We want to write books to try to help other people to do it. Marrying my husband who's a fluent speaker, all of those things. So none of it was carefully planned, but all of it seems very logical to me. And quite often just, should I do that? And my husband and I both go, okay, we should probably do that. And then also it's about the choices you get given and the things that you turn down, I guess. But for me, I always feel really fortunate, and I have no problem with saying when I'm fortunate or privileged or, all of the things that come with having a media career. And so therefore, if you appreciate it, then if and when it goes, then you can go, okay, cool. I was lucky to have that. You gotta, I think, sit in some appreciation. So I'm really grateful for all those things. And I'm not a person who sat down and went, right, by the time I'm this age, I need to have done this or I need to have done that. It's just go with the kaupapa, go with the flow.
Well, you did go with the flow, but a lot of that has played out in the public eye as well, which adds another level of scrutiny to what you've done. Does that factor into the way you reflect back on that part of your life? Yeah,
I guess I'm quite mindful. I think it is good to actually read the room, read the wider room, and go say, like you mentioned, do we have to help people go, okay, what does kaupapa mean? Yes, we do. Where are we at right now? What can I offer that is going to be helpful at this point? I think there's a lot more listening involved in media than there should be of just talking. So listening, observing, I think, is something that's I've tried to make sure I keep on doing, not just making this presumption. That's the cool thing about podcasts. Like you're immediately getting feedback of this is interesting or this isn't, this is what gets views and this what isn't. And that wasn't the way with radio. That's not what it was built on. So you've really changed the game. So in this brand new world, what do you need to understand? What do you need to do? Do you need to be on everything? And who do you want to talk to? Like, I knew who you guys were. And I liked how you talked to my brother-in-law, and I liked how my dad got a shout out on the episode with Simon, so those kind of things. I think you have to go, are these kind of my guys or my people? Is this my kaupapa?
Your dad was terrified too, because I quoted him at the end of this Simon Barnett episode, and he retold me that he was listening, and then he was like, oh shit, I hope I've got that right. And did he sense check that with you? Are you his phone a friend to make sure that was correct?
Yeah, but not before he told you. He rang me up and he goes, oh my God. He goes, okay, I can't even listen to it because I'm so scared. I think I probably got it wrong. But this is what I said. They asked me and I said, actually, I don't know why I said this, but I said he's got ihi about Simon. And then I described it like this. And is it right? He says, he's in the back going, I go, yeah, that's good. Tino pai. He goes, oh thank God. He goes, are you sure? Because I can't watch it. I said, no, tino pai kora pops. It's all good. And I saw Simon's reaction and, just beautiful. And, I cried too. And I think, but I feel for my dad. That was him having a cultural, I guess, breakdown. Going, shit, why was I so bold to try to say that? And was it right? And he was right. Yeah, interesting, eh?
He was. It was such a beautiful end to one of probably my favourite episodes. That chat was just special. And I don't think anyone made it through that without crying. Yeah, multiple times.
Well, I mean, when you talk about a life well lived, that's what I thought about watching Simon's episode and going, wow, that's love, like what a beautiful love. And I remember Jodie and Simon when they first got together, because I was on What Now at the time, and everyone was just like, wow, golden couple, like Danny and Sandy, like that's so awesome. And they were, like it's really refreshing to see loves like that. And then so tragic and so sad that it wasn't able to last, all of both of their lives.
You know what's weird when you're saying that is all of the people we've spoken to, they talk about you and Scotty in that same way.
Yeah.
As that couple, that couple that is just so good together and they are public and you see them all the time, but it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, I really dislike that. If it's not real in real life, then it's an interesting one. You don't have to tell everyone everything about your relationship, but if it's not real in real life, it doesn't even count. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I have been blessed to have a love that if you ever get it once in your life, then you are absolutely blessed. And I didn't think that was going to happen. I remember being 31 and that's it. Never going to get married, never going to have kids. What's going to happen? I'm not going to meet the man of my dreams and have 2 kids by 35, and that's exactly what happened. So I think I said at our wedding, he's like the love that I didn't even dare to dream of.
Wow. Why?
Because you haven't been a woman, man. It's hard. Guys are dicks.
Cesspool out there. Some real arsehole shade.
I didn't know if you realised, but a lot of men are actually not that great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can empathise, because I mean I've come to my relationship in later life, and I probably was in the same boat that you were, but I was further down the line thinking, oh shit, I'm in my 40s here.
Yeah. Wow.
What's my
Luckily, you don't look at it.
What's my I bet you say that to all the podcasters. But like that, you're right. It's like, what's my play? This is my lot. How's the rest of this life gonna play out? And then boom, all of a sudden someone walks in and you go, oh wow, okay, this is completely different. It's flipped it on its head.
Yeah, game changer. And Scotty really, he likes Married at First Sight Australia, which is pretty weird. But we were talking about how when they get overwhelmed, and it's like, of course, they're in this weird experiment and it's 4 weeks, but we were talking about how overwhelming it feels when you go, I'm out of control. Like, I've never felt this before. Like, this is very real. Yeah. So it's overwhelming and, yeah, it's hard not to freak out.
Does it still feel that way?
Sometimes, but not like overwhelming in a gratitude way. Yeah. But yeah, at the beginning I was like, yeah, both of us were kind of like, what do you do? What do you do when you feel, you met sort of the one, I guess. Yeah.
We're going to talk a lot more about Scotty later on, but I want to sort of take us down the road. Your parents, James and Sue, were 18 and 17 when you were born. Can you take us back to how having such young parents shaped your childhood and what that looked like?
Yeah, my dad likes to say I was present at all of his weddings, all three of them, because they got married in the school holidays after, what is now year 13. And so one way that shaped me is like looking at my kids now at 17 and 18 and going, whoa, imagine if they were parents. And it kind of makes me, it sort of validates their feelings and their relationships for me in my mind, because like there's no difference. Like, that was my parents as well, and so that's what makes me cry to Olivia Dean about their relationships. But it did. I mean, I don't know what my dad might have said, but I do appreciate that one time we were talking on the radio with him and Simon, and Simon said, something like, you must be proud, which is a really normal thing to say, and Dad said, I can't really take any credit. I don't take any credit. I wasn't particularly present. I wasn't particularly good at that stuff. And so as a young, when my parents were very young, I think I did become the kind of kid who's like really watchful, particularly eldest daughters. You see them, they're kind of looking around going, is everyone okay? If everyone's not okay, then what should I do? Maybe I should be the one who helps mum now that she's by herself. Maybe I should look after my sister. So that's probably one big thing, is that I really felt any lacking in the whānau, like a lack of money or worries or stress, or when the relationship broke up. I've realised between my sister and I, she, 2 years younger than me, didn't perceive the same things as me. She didn't worry and stress about it. So it's that elder sibling tuakana kind of thing. So that's become a lot of my personality. And my dad likes it, and then says I talk to him like I'm his mother or something. Yeah.
Just back on. So it's a mixed race household that you grew up in as well, because your mum's Pākehā. So what did she teach you? What do you carry with her still to this day?
Yeah. Well, so my mum was Pākehā. Her whānau, her parents came from England, and actually my granddad used to love doing pantomimes, and so he had a ukulele and he was like, yeah, 5 foot 2, eyes are blue. And so the kind of equivalent in central New Brighton was to join the Māori Culture Club, and that's where they met my dad and my grandparents, Papa and Kuikui, and they were very much the Māori in the Māori cultural group. But my nana Joyce was in the Māori Women's Welfare League, even though she wasn't Māori, but she learned how to make korowai, she learned raranga, all of these things. And she had come out from England, in the 1950s. So yet in the 1970s, it was still a big deal to have a mixed race teenage parents. So there were lots of things that were, just sort of obviously against them. And, Dad would say, casually, people would say, oh, well, once he got into broadcasting, it's good you don't sound like a Māori. Those kind of just casual racism, kind of just, that was very much part of our upbringing. And our mum, and Scotty says his mum as well, who's Pākehā, they were actually the ones who were able to help us feel good about being Māori, probably more than our dads were able to at the time, because they were just surviving. They were just figuring out how to do it and earn enough money for the whānau, feel okay about it. I don't think could actually dig deeper like a mother is likely to go, how can I help my kid who looks Māori feel okay about that? And I think both of our mothers have done that really well. And especially my mother-in-law, Bev, is amazing, 86, lived in the heart of Rotorua and Te Arawa, and she's got, Scotty's other grandparents literally looked like Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother, really, really good New Zealand 7-8 generations. And then the Māori side, which are, really different, and the whole Morrison whānau, well known in Rotorua. So these kind of two worlds coming together. And I think for both of us, we considered our mothers were the glue. Our Pākehā mothers could see the beauty of both sides, and this child who is naturally amalgamation of both things. So how do I help them navigate those worlds?
When your parents split when you were quite young, did that change your worldview, and like what did that look like for young Stacey?
So I was 8, I think. As I say, that's when I started worrying a lot as a little kid, worrying about mum especially, worrying that we had enough money. We didn't have enough money. So I was really aware of that. I was worried about mum's job, her stress. I was really bad when she did go for a date. I kicked one guy in the shins and he did nothing. So bad.
Why did you kick him in the shins?
Because he existed.
Yeah.
Just really bad. He literally just said, "Hi, I'm Tony," and I kicked him in the shins. But that's the sort of...
Strong first impression.
So bad.
Tony,
but,
if you're listening.
Sorry, Tony. But just really protective, really concerned about... everyone was not okay. As a little kid, I think often you're going, is everyone okay? And if they are okay, woohoo, I can just go off and be a kid. But for me, I was like, everyone's not okay. What can I do? And remember, one thing I really love about Boy, the movie, is how little Rocky thinks he killed his mum, and he thinks he's got superpowers because of it. And remember, that's what kids think. They think they've done something and they've changed the world. And it's really, I guess, a vivid memory for me that I thought, I need to fix it. I need to make things better. I need to help mum. Yeah.
That's a lot as a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, but I honestly don't think that's unusual. Yeah.
Do you carry that through till today?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I'm the eldest, and so all those breakout moments where you say, "Oh," and then she does this random thing, that's me, I guess, reclaiming that I can just be. I don't have to be responsible all the time, and I have to be. I remember Scotty saying to us, "You don't actually have to follow every single rule." But
and then you kicked them in the shins.
No, but that was me trying to hold things together, trying to be, if mum's the glue and I'm like Band-Aid, and I do appreciate how Dad, has said a few times, he wasn't particularly present. He wasn't there. He was having a great time. He was off doing his own thing. And yeah, so I definitely, you couldn't put every kid in that situation and get the same outcome. But if you put me, my personality, my sensitivities as a little girl in that situation, it turned me into quite a classic eldest daughter, eldest child, eldest mokopuna, going, okay, I've got to be really responsible. I've got to worry about everything and I've got to sort it out.
And the narrative from the outside looking in would suggest that Te Ao Māori was something that would be, to use your words, a glue that would also keep you together. But have I got it right that your dad wasn't very connected to Te Ao Māori at that stage at all?
No, even though my kuia, his mother, was a native speaker, but from Rotorua, so they came to Christchurch, or well, she did, especially because of Teachers Training College. Papa was Ngaitahu, and so he's from there. But this is something that Dad and I actually cried about one Māori Language Week, and we said, we didn't used to be proud of that. We used to be embarrassed about the fact that Kwekwe was a native speaker, and I really hate saying that out loud. But that was what the world told us. It was not something to be proud of. It was not something to be celebrated. Whereas if you said, I can speak French or I can speak Japanese, I literally went and learnt Japanese first because that'll be good for your career. That's a valid language. Whereas really the language that was calling me and was going to be the glue for my life was Te Reo Māori. And what the world was telling me was the opposite of that Te Reo Māori will never do anything for your career. There's no point. It's a dying language. And that was very much a narrative that I think my dad tried to survive through. And so that's why he just went, I just need to, I can either be successful or I can be Māori. And it's a sad thing to say, but it's a reality for a lot of people at that time especially.
You've obviously spent a lot of time sort of like reflecting on your upbringing and how it shaped you. With what you've gone on to achieve now, and we're going to talk about all the incredible stuff you've done with Te Reo, when you look back, are you sad that you didn't have that experience in childhood, or are you okay with it because of what you've gone on to do despite that upbringing?
Well, what I realised is that you don't need to have some qualifications or some experiences to be Māori. So you have this whakapapa, you have this culture inside you that will resonate inside you and kind of like, it's like, gravitate, and it will be louder in some people's ears than others. So yes, I could regret that. I could definitely regret how embarrassing I found it to learn Te Reo Māori publicly, to make a lot of mistakes on shows like Marae, like My Time, like My FM was devastating and cringe, and I could have easily given up. But what I am grateful for is that now I can see that in other people, and I guess I have empathy, and one of the really important things to me is that aroha means empathy and love and sympathy, and it has reciprocity. So that's the aroha I have for anyone who is worried about how they can connect with either being Māori or Māoritanga in this land, is to go, this is part of us, and we're just trying to figure out how it can sit and be a superpower and a special power of ours, and try to help people move through these kind of fears and basically traumas that literally clamp their mouth up.
I think this is a good place to insert myself here, because we started this podcast 6 years ago in our garage, right? And I was a journalist and I had an understanding of Māori, but when you start speaking more, I think there's an obligation to get things right. And I've certainly tried to improve my pronunciation, but I get in my head about it. And, you coming down was very intimidating, because there's a lot of Māori words, and it's like, reality. What if I get them wrong? What if I, offend in some way? Which I think, generalizing here, is a very normal thought pattern for everyone, not just me, but it's probably good to sort of vocalize, my fear of stumbling over words and not getting it right.
I think the worst thing is that people will say things like you just said to me, and they say it like this terrible, dark secret. They go, I feel like I can't say it. I'm scared. And they go, no, but I literally feel like, and I said, you're getting pulled down from the inside, like you're going to pass out. And they go, yeah. I go, yeah, that's how it feels. And, the worst fears and traumas feel like a deep, dark secret that no one else will understand, but actually it's all of ours. And so it's actually a communal secret. They were all a bit scared, and it's like a scar that hasn't even got a scab, and so we start to pick at it and we go, this is actually too hard for a lot of people. And the hard thing about Te Reo Māori is that you can't just grab it, acquire it in a day. You can't just go, I've got the T-shirt, woo, I'm Māori, And so it's that, it's called language trauma, basically. And so it's not just yours. If you consider that you were inside your mother's womb and your mother was inside her grandmother's womb, and so there's that cellular memory and whakapapa of kids who were strapped for speaking Māori, for the way that Te Reo Māori and the status has been smashed, really, to go, you won't get a job, it doesn't matter. And so then when you take all of that in, and then you start to realise, well, I actually want to respect it, and it does feel like part of me, and it does feel like it's important, then you see how that's not as complicated as going, yeah, I love the All Blacks too. So it's like something, a national pride thing that needs more work, more effort and more aroha, more ways for us to kind of engage with it. But it is, I really feel sad about is that people might look at me and then get more scared of speaking Māori. I was hoping it was going to be the opposite, to go, people say to me, you used to be a kia ora girl, you could only say kia ora, not even that, and now you can speak Māori. And I thought that would make them feel better, but I hate when it makes people feel worse. Because I'm not judging your journey. I don't know how much headspace you've got. I don't know what happened in your whānau. I don't know how your brain works. I don't know what teachers have said to you that's made you think you can't learn language. So I'm really not sitting there in judgment. I see your heart and your intention and your aroha for te reo Māori. Koe ea, I tēnā, and that's enough.
Yeah, it is in your head. It is in my head. And would you suggest, outside of sort of reading the books or actually like going and intentionally learning it, just stumbling and just making the mistakes, just going for it, and if you need to go back and correct yourself, do it.
And then sometimes it's just like even adjusting how you say names, like say I went to a school called Aranui and everyone go, oh, Aranui, and even your street name, like finding out what your street name means, the place where you live, Kirikiriroa, calling it Tāmaki Makaurau. We've realised we can do that and going, oh, that's actually a really cool story. Tāmaki, loved by many, Tāmaki Heringa Waka, where all the waka came together. That's actually really cool and really interesting. So it's just find something that's of interest and relevance to your life. Say your mate Hemi's name right. And, that can be a little bit, and just don't, it's so interesting. We have such massive expectations of ourselves with no real, just such a patchy kind of education in terms of our skills. And then you start singing, people might know Te Tira Mai Ngā Iwi, and like when they're in England, they're like, oh, and they're doing Haka and everything, going, that's me, that's us. And yet when we're home, everyone goes, oh, don't get annoyed at me if I don't know the words, And then there's a classic a song called E Te Iwi, and I say to people, you'll probably know this from primary, and then they go, no, wait, and then you go, E karanga e te iwi e, and they go, kua heke mai ne, kua heke mai ne, ki runga te marae e.
Oh, tutu no iwi.
See, you got it.
It's in your locker, it's locked away in there.
See, that's what...
Put your fist in your mouth.
That's what little brains can do. See, that's the thing. That is the part that I go, okay, kids can learn multiple languages. Bilingual children are not scary. They're incredible. It's actually what they need to decode this new world.
Shit, I never sung that at school and I couldn't join in.
Oh, what school did you go to?
I went to... I've forgotten now.
But that might be the problem.
I went to Tahara Primary in Taupo, but we never sung it.
Yeah.
It's actually from around the Rotorua area too.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Like that's a really interesting real life example of you two being able to connect, and then I don't know the words, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh man,
what is he Māori koe? Are you?
No. I'm from the Solomon Islands.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but in terms of language trauma and disconnect, I know exactly what you're talking about with my own lens of connecting back to where my mum's from.
Yeah,
and going there and being like, "Oh man." This is where I'm from. These are my people. These are the coconut trees that my grandfather and great-grandfather and everybody planted that I'm sitting in the shade of now. But I feel like I can't. There's something that I'm not able to connect in to because I haven't had that. And it's a generational thing because it's mum growing up in the 1970s under colonial rule in the Solomon Islands and then moving here and I don't think it's not unique, but it's the feeling is totally the same.
Yeah, and quite debilitating because, do you feel like you can't understand the language but you can feel the language?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I go back there, it's like there's some feeling inside of you. It's like, I'm home now. This is where I belong. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is all my place. I'm very comfortable here. But then there's a weird disconnect from not being comfortable all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like the kind of opportunity cost, like thank goodness your parents came to where they did, but you go, but I have this parallel life that hasn't been lived by me, and I have these cousins, that are living a different way to me, and it is me. So yeah, it's really fascinating. I remember Dad saying he didn't expect to feel like that in England, but he did. He went, oh, far out. I have bones here too. And so I think that's the coolest thing is we live in this small place that we're all destined to be in. So why are we destined to be here? That's your job, to find that out and to live that full purpose of it. And part of that is that this is the whenua of Te iwi Māori, and we all descend from a Voyager or are a Voyager ourselves.
Which Scotty's origin series, when he starts in Taiwan, and I'm like looking at that and I'm going, man, those patterns look like the patterns in the Solomons. And then he goes to Vanuatu and like you're tracking this journey. So then you do feel connected, even if you're not tangata whenua, you do feel connected here because there is that Voyager history that's gone through before as well.
Yeah, and I think my most favourite thing about Origins is Scotty showing that male spirituality and getting emotional about being in the presence of ancestral greatness and things that have been touched by people that he knows are like huge entities in our worlds. And then I think about if you don't have that process, if you don't recognise yourself as a spiritual being, how dangerous that is for men. And spirituality, sometimes you might connect through church or you might have a different formatted way that you express your spirituality. But I just think it's really unfair to men not to embrace you as spiritual beings. And I particularly think in Aotearoa, it's been very detrimental to our people and to our men that being spiritual has been something that's not an everyday talk or consideration in general culture, yet our Māori world tells us that is so much of who we are.
Are you seeing it change? Is it changing?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is, but like say if that's why I think one of the reasons why we feel so emotional when we see Haka, is you go, that's a wairua, that's a spirit flying. That's someone's essence just popping out of them. And that's what feels spiritual and ancient and yet the future as well. Because I know Eva Rickard from around this way in Raglan, she said, somewhere in my past is my destiny. And so in those moments, I think we see people living their destiny of being full, spiritual, awesome beings. I think we can untap it, but there's just more opportunity to do that, just to see the spirituality in everyday things, the Māori, the life force in everyday things, and it just helps you then go, oh, far out. If that's the case, then I need to honour it. I need to look at this bird in a different way, this plant in a different way, and then it's kind of like seeing a matrix.
All right, take us. I'm gonna link us back with James, because growing up, he starts to get famous. So help us understand how famous he is and what that actually means for you, and would you consider it sort of coming out of his shadow, and what your connection to broadcasting was with him is?
So I think I was 5 when Dad started in radio. He started as an apprentice, and I remember he did get quite famous. So this is the time when radio was a really big deal. Particularly in Christchurch, he was with James, once he got to be James Akin, and I remember him saying in the Sunday News, which was a really big newspaper then, he said, we were so poor, I just put out exchanged the milk bottles for mints for the kids' tea. And I'm like, oh man, why'd you have to say that? It's so shame, so embarrassing. But that was the reality. And then we went to Te Maru, and that's where Dad first worked. And then he worked in Blenheim, and he sometimes got me and my friends to come into the studio and do, like, I was Glenn Marley, like this little character in ads. The boy who lived next door was a boy called Leon Rat, who ended up being big boss guy in radio. So I like to think, he never says it, but I like to think maybe Dad influenced him as well. But that was actually a rough time in our whānau life, because that's when my parents broke up, basically. So that was a rough time. And yet then after that, that's when Dad got really famous, when we started living apart. So I could see like Dad started doing doing well, and we were still living with Mum and not doing so well. And there's a stupid thing that I remember, that when he moved into a new house with his new partner, bought a Russell Hobbs kettle. And we had the stink white one that, burnt, melted, and nearly set fire to the house. I'm like, it's so unfair. He's got a Russell Hobbs, and he doesn't even know how expensive that is. I said to him, you've got a Russell Hobbs. He goes, is that a big deal? I went, that's such a big deal. Like, wow, when I grow up, I want to have a Russell Hobbs kettle. So at school, like, people would literally go, that's James Daniel's daughter. that's James Daniel's daughter, because they were so big in the morning. Like, you'd come to school and he'd be talking about things like, oh, my daughter's got her first bra. Like, can you imagine how cool that was? At intermediate. And so to kind of cope with that, I put on a front and acted like I don't care. And so a couple of kids at school took that as she's so up herself, and decided to kind of, set a whole class against me and go, oh, here's the queen, everyone bow down. She thinks she's the shit. Whereas actually I was just trying to, anything. It was like a force field for me to go, I'm just everywhere I go, all I am is James Daniel's daughter. And just that, I guess, Dad would then, he'd come to the big events, like say the school show, when I was performing in it. But then my mum would say, but he wasn't there at 1 o'clock in the morning when you were crying and trying to remember your words. So, that kind of, my friend talked about it recently, she said, oh, this is awesome. I've got like absent dad privilege, because she moved away for a bit for work and she comes back and her kid really appreciates her. So, all of those dynamics of going, my dad was famous and everyone said he was cool, and yet I didn't live with him and I didn't have a Russell Hobbs kiddo,
And did you think that you would follow him into broadcasting? Like, was that in high school? And I want to talk about getting in and start at What Now, but before then, did you think that that's the direction you wanted to go?
No, definitely not. It was kind of reason not to. But then, ended up just having those opportunities. But it is weird. No, I didn't. I thought, Dad does that, that's not me.
But arts was a passion, right? Have I got it right that Aranui High School, you won the National Theatre Sports comp?
Not national, I don't think.
That's a father's pride there.
Yeah, and Dad is really proud of me. But no, I definitely wasn't going, oh, my dad's doing, I want to be like my dad. I think I said I wanted to be a lawyer, but that's because LA Law was really big then, show. And cool outfits and looked like arguing all day looked fun. But no, and it just sounded like something that parents would say, okay, that's fine. If you want to say you'd be a lawyer, then you just go, that's good. But no, I did. I went into theatre sports at Aranui, so that was all just stuff that I did like doing, and I loved doing, performing, and I had amazing and intermediate teachers, and so just really, really lucky, great teachers. Shout out to Chisnawood Intermediate. It's called Avondale Primary. They call it Avondale, not but Avondale, and Aranui High School. Yeah, but we were still from that school. I think Scribe, Lady Six, Dallas Te Maira, Miria Makamo,
wow.
And then we start going into the sporting legends. So it was a really we had a rep in terms of being the school from the wrong side of town, and yet we had teachers who loved us, really loved us, and so that's why we flew, I think,
And then you flew on to What Now? What was the step? How did you get in the door?
The theatre sports, so we were kind of the random, there was like the Girls High and all the ones you expected Girls High in Christchurch, and then us and the What Now people were like, those kids are random, we like them, and so they got us to audition, and that's when I started being on What Now on Let's Cook. So that was a after school job instead of working at McDonald's or anything. That's what my job was. And then I went to Japan as an exchange student, started learning Japanese, realised far out I can speak someone else's language, I can't speak my own. One day, and I wrote to my kuia who was working on the West Coast and said, one day when I come home, I'll learn my language. It took me about 3 or 4 years to even start after that, but I did. Yeah.
You're glossing over that, but is that a moment that happens in Japan, or is that over a period of time, or is that calling that we spoke about before, that feeling, was that instantaneous?
Pretty much, actually. Yeah, because I was an AFS student and I went, I can learn language, I didn't feel any of that deep fear, any of that stuff that clams you up. I didn't feel that in Japan because I was just like, I'm just trying, gambarimasu, which is different from when you come from here and you go, that is me, I should know this. And I went, wow, this feels really different. And I went, culture and language tells you a lot about a people. I know the first words that are coming up are benko, to study, like gambarimasu, try your hardest. This is telling me about the culture of the people by the language that I learn. And so if I can do this, I need to do it for my own language as well. And I must admit, is that perspective of being away. You see a different perspective on what we have back here, and that we had an amazing Māori whānau class at Aranui High School, Whaetihi Puanaki. Beautiful, beautiful teacher. She was the teacher, but I was too scared to go near that because I was really embarrassed that she knew my kuia, Dad's mum, and she was a native speaker, and that I couldn't speak Māori at all. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I literally would run the other way when I saw her. I was so scared. And then people like Miriama, like my cousins, they were all in the Māori unit. They were in Haka. I just probably went into drama class to avoid Haka. It's horrible. Mm. And Whaetihi, I've actually been able to say to her, later, I'm sorry. I was really scared of you. And te whakama, te patua hau e te whakama. Like I was just devastated and bashed around by embarrassment. And so I just couldn't. And she's like, kei te pai. And it's okay. I understand. And so, yeah, funnily enough, learning Japanese unlocked my desire to learn my own language. Yeah.
And then you talk about baby steps for people like us to start by pronouncing towns and cities and streets right. That's the first steps that you took, right? Was it on N to Z where you travelled from Cape Reinga all the way down to Rakiura and they were like, have you tried saying the names the way they should be pronounced? Is that right?
Yeah, that was Peter Hayden, beautiful man. You would have known Peter Hayden, his documentaries. He was sort of like our David Attenborough. Beautiful man, beautiful voice. And he'd say, hey, have you thought, like we could say it properly, like te ano, not te anau. And I go, oh, yeah. So, yeah, it was a slow learner, really. It took a minute. And also just, I couldn't champion it. I sort of needed someone else to help me, someone like a Peter Hayden. I remember Annie, the editor, she was really patient with me too. And I was trying to figure out how do I be a good Māori that people will still like, which I think Dad really managed to do or felt like he had to do all through his broadcasting. Not all through, but a lot of his broadcasting career.
You've got another broadcasting legend in your back catalogue as well, which is Siri and Taylor.
Oh, yes.
And Taylor Made Productions down in Dunedin?
Yeah, he was the boss when I first went there.
So how does What Now and Taylor Made, how does that all work?
It was just like a outsourced production made by Taylor Made with Peter Hayden there and Ross Johnston, amazing people who'd made You and Me and lots of different things. But yeah, the ARU, the Animation Research Unit at that point was like, a computer as big as this part of the room because it had to be. And we're like, what are those guys doing? Like, kind of, Poindexter over there. And they were making what ended up becoming that incredible technology that follows, the yachting and follows the golf. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Watch a lot of
Wee, look at the ball.
Yeah, it's good. It improves the viewing experience.
Yeah, so that was when that was all starting. We're like, what are they doing? But
And I'm not sure of the timelines here, but it seems like there's a bit of a sliding doors moment because you're up for the gig on Ice TV against Petra, but then there's also Marae. And you miss out to Petra. She goes on to Ice TV, turns it into the incredible show it was, and you go in a different direction. And I'm not sure of the timelines here, but you had sort of made the conscious choice that you wanted to learn more te reo at this point. Do you sometimes think about what path might have looked like if it had gone the different direction?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's, I guess, somewhere in my past is my destiny. And I was hoping to get Ice TV because I was thinking it'll be much easier. It won't be like I won't get shown up. It won't be as obvious how bad I am at the Māori stuff. And I even had to do, like, one of my first stories was about learning your whakapapa and going home and going to the Ngaitahu whakapapa unit. So this is when I'm about 22, I think, and I wanted to move to Auckland because my mum had started living up here. And my little sister was born when I was 21. So all of that was what was bringing me there. So I needed a job and I wanted to move there. And, yeah, so Petra got Ice TV and that's her trajectory, and it's so cool because I see Petra sometimes and she's learning te reo Māori and she turns around and feels like you do as well, like, oh, she's put in a lot of work, but she gets worried that she's getting it wrong. So, I mean, those kind of OG experiences, and we're still here, I'm really grateful for. And Petra at a Wise Women event at the Word book festival in Christchurch, I accidentally said, she's so lovable, even though she's so perfect. And I actually made her cry and within a minute, and I felt terrible. But she said, that's so funny that you say that I'm lovable even though I'm perfect, because all I've done my whole life is try to be perfect so I could be lovable. I went, I'm sorry, sister. Takuhe. I'm sorry. So it's funny how lives intertwine. And I just wanted Petra to not get the job so that I could get it. But then I knew, it's like one of those things where you're standing and you go, what is the right choice? The right choice is the hard choice. It's to do marae. It's to look like an idiot. It's to have people going, darling, it's kaupapa, not kōpapa. I go, oh, okay, yeah. Dying inside. And then actually, learning all of these things, being on shows like My Time, being around people like whaingata, like Kingi Haka, like the people of Te Karere, like Mihingarangi, all of those people, and learning from going to the paukai, going to the first events of Kingitanga, understanding, meeting the Queen, the Tairangi Kahu, all of those things. So it was like going, if I go into this and I know I'm not going to be good at it, then I know there's no going back. So I tried to go back. But I couldn't. So
Did you ever genuinely think, this is too much. I'd much rather do the other stuff?
Yeah. Yes. Lots of times. It's like, this is embarrassing. This sucks. This is hard. And it's embarrassing and it sucks and it's hard. And it's worth it. Yeah. So I guess that's the thing. Imagine, a lot of things you can go, well, this is worth it. It's hard, but it's worth it, because in the end you get a black belt, or in the end you get a such and such. But what you get here is only definable by you. Yeah. So you've got to make it worth it. Yeah. For me, in the end, I think, I don't know, I wonder what your one is, but you can probably look back and identify, if I hadn't done that, or if I hadn't been that, then I wouldn't marry this woman that I did and have these children. And for me, if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have married the man I did.
Because you met Scotty while he was a substitute teacher? Sounds like a script to a movie, but is that right?
No, it doesn't. I don't really like that you said that. He was, because I was doing night classes. I've never had full-time Māori study, but I was doing night classes. Our friend Te Kauhoi, he was our actual tutor, and then sometimes Scotty would fill in. And he said to me, he goes, Scotty's single now. And I went, yeah, I heard. And I said to him, it's okay. It'll be, I'm sure you'll be all right. He goes, no, that's not what I mean. I went, what? He goes, I'm just saying, I think you'd be fucking awesome together. I was like, okay. I was like, kia ora te kauhoi. I was like, oh, wow. And the blinkers came off. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Of course. Yes, right.
What did the nuts and bolts of your study actually look like? Because we had Mike McRoberts on, and he spoke about his full immersion year, while he was still, working the 6 p.m. desk at 3
So
years.
relatable, don't we all?
Yeah. But because this was like a 15-year journey, was it starting small and doing a little bit each night? And were there periods where you went fuller into it, or how did it look?
I think it's really important to share that, because people think they're the only one who started a beginner's course and then go, I think I'll just do it again. We all do that, because it's horrible being bad at something. And so I do beginner night course, and then I go, I just think I'll go back to the beginners, and then I'll maybe do another one over here. So it's very piecemeal, and I'd feel like, okay, I've learned a little bit, and then if you don't use it, it's just like a muscle, goes backwards. And so quite a few years of not making much progress, and then everyone who I worked with at the Māori department in TVNZ started to notice once I started going home in the year 2000 to Ngaitahu, and there was a course called Te Huanui, and we'd actually live in from Friday night to Sunday, and it was total immersion. So that was what flicked the switch and kind of moved me up a level. And so my teachers were people like Dr. Hano Regan, Tahu Pōtiki. There's people who went, okay, with our Ngaitahu settlement, this is one of the things we're going to do. And I was one of the rangata who went, okay, in 2025, we want to have 1,000 Māori-speaking homes within Ngaitahu. So that was part of it. And actually, Dad did that with me as well. And after a year, for me, that's when I sort of got to the point where I could, I can stay in a conversation, and I can actually, it's like trudging through virgin snow. It's so hard, and awkward and inelegant. You go, this is just too hard to learn. And then once you do it again and again, it starts becoming a path that's actually there. And you can go, I can just walk down here and here's a new word and here's a new word. Before that, it sounds like blah, 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 Māori, blah, 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 mana. And then it starts going, nō reira ko te mana o te iwi Māori. And you go, I can actually hear it. It's like opening up a world, but it's kind of getting to the point where you go, I'm close enough. I can kind of hear it like behind a closed door. And now I need to push through and I need to come out into te ao marama, into like the world of light. But it's messy. I've never had full-time study like Mike did. And I do get a bit worried that people think that's the only way to do it. It's not. And particularly Scotty's books were like, just do 30 minutes a day and write a little bit, learn a little bit, listen to a little bit, speak a little bit, whatever you know, kōrero. That's the most important thing. So yeah, really back and forth, slow, like you say, 15 years. And then it wasn't until we started, we got together and decided we're going to raise our kids with te reo Māori. We're like, okay, now, me u ki te reo, we're going to speak Māori all the time. And, when I was so tired, sometimes there's no language that wanted to come out of my mouth. And a friend of mine said she was doing the same, sort of simultaneously, maybe a bit earlier. And she'd go, I don't even have the right words. I'd go to my kid fell down like in between the couch and she went, Kate, they're stuck koe. So it's like just so like being a child and hard. And I didn't actually even realise I could have given up. But if I'd given up, I would have been giving up on something my husband and I agreed to and a vision we had for our whānau. And it's a reality in a childhood I can't recognise and he can't recognise. So we were breaking new ground and doing it together. And I think that built respect because it was hard for both of us. Even though he was a fluent speaker by then, he didn't know how to talk about the playground. He didn't know how to talk about babies. We both didn't know what to do in terms of bringing up children. And I think it wasn't until we started doing kura whakaraura, helping other whānau go, okay, if you're going to make a plan, how are you going to do this? And I went, oh, wow, I could have given up. And people would say, we tried this, but then I gave up. And I was like, oh, yeah, giving up is an option. But it just felt too critical. Too important, too precious, and too much like an emblem, a whakaitanga, a treaty, you could say, of what we agreed to in our marriage, that breaking it just wouldn't have, I just wouldn't have felt right about that. Yeah.
I think that speaks to the person you are. And I love when we have guests that have achieved as much as you have, and you look for the things that make them different. And you didn't realise giving up was an option. You didn't consider that was an option, where most people, I would assume, it would always be somewhere there, and they think, I can give
up on lots of things, but I just not when it's that important. Like, it's like when you've got this shot now, you've got this wife and you've got this child, and you go, this is the one I can't mess up. Yeah,
I said that a couple of episodes ago.
Oh yeah, I like saying, I've said it to friends as well, going, bro, this is the one. You can't mess this one up. Yeah, you've got to bring your best self. Yeah.
Before we really get into Scotty, if it's okay with you, there's a period of adversity, and the reason we like talking about the difficult times is because the listeners are often going through it themselves.
Yeah.
So to understand, how you got through and how you made sense of it. And the period I'm talking about is the sort of late 90s and into 2001 when your mum, Sue, passed, and she was sick for a while before that. And I understand, it was a really challenging time. I want to talk about it, but first, can you tell us a little bit more about your mum and the woman she was?
Yeah, so my mum, Sue, was 17 when she had me. And I've only just started to realise how hard that must have been for her. And she was beautiful and like from the inside out, I guess, one of those women that, like we played at her funeral, the Billy Joel song, She's Got a Way About Her. I don't know what it is, but I know that I can't live without her. So she was, I guess, the sun in my sky, really. And she was the glue of our whānau and the person who I felt safe with, and everything made sense. But then in the end, when Mum needed nursing, and she was only 45, which I must admit at the time I probably thought was quite a lot older than it is, she said, Stacey's my security blanket. And so our roles changed, and that is something I think a lot of people can relate to, when the person who nurtured you and was your safe place and looked after you becomes the person who needs your help. And so it's a bittersweet privilege to be able to look after them. And I just wanted her to know that she was safe, yeah. And her mum had died early too, at 49. And so that had brought this, spirituality into her life that I was so proud of her for being able to talk about. But I was so sad for her that she had so much pain. And so at the very end, I must admit, I did things like I wanted to make sure her eyebrows looked okay. I wanted to make sure everything on her face when people came to see her, that she wasn't, that she had her dignity. And there were some people I didn't want to see her like that. And so I was so fortunate. I was working at my FM at the time, and they never, ever made anything feel like I couldn't go and do what I needed to do for my mum in Christchurch. And I remember Rob, Graham Plummer, my boss, my friends Henewehi, Horned, these people who came when mum died. And my mum was Pākehā, and we were in the Nurse Maud Hospice, which is just beautiful. And I remember when she had died that night, and she was holding my hand, and her husband was there. And I said, "Is she breathing?" When I woke up, and he went, and I thought, oh yeah, no, it doesn't feel like she's here anymore. She's not here anymore. So then when my friends came down and they gave me a hug, I remember hearing someone wailing, like the old queer, and, and I thought, who's that? It must be Henui. And it was me. I didn't even know. It just come out of me. And that's the deep well of grief and it's an ancient knowing of pain, and it just came out of me. And ever since then, I can access it. Yeah. And have aroha, have empathy and sympathy for people when they go through that. Because one of our great mentors, Timoti Karetu, he wrote this song that I can't even listen to because it's full of so much love. And he says, Tēnei mamai, te utu o te aroha, this pain is the price of love. And so that's what came out of me that day. And that is, I guess, how I love my mum. So I have no regrets, luckily, that I was able to do what I could do for her, looking after her physically. But I didn't like how life kept on going. I didn't like how I just felt like, well, the sun's fallen out of the sky. It shouldn't be just like a normal day. And so I lost a lot of self-care because I was like, nothing makes sense anymore. This is stupid. How can life just keep on going? And no one seems to care. So I'm really mindful of how people feel after a tangi, and also I'm mindful of what it feels like to lose a parent. And I'm now in the phase of life where lots of my friends are losing parents, and what I see is that they're acting like, okay, well that's the cycle of life. This is where I'm at, and acting as if you can go back to work next week. I don't think you should. No matter when it happens, this is someone who is a constant in your life, whether they were someone you loved or someone who really dug at deep, hard stuff in your world. They were always there. So now they're not there. There is a big void in your life, and it's okay to spend some time grieving that. And I really feel for people. I'm lucky because I love my mum, and I know she loved me, and I know I did everything I could, but there's still always lots of things to bring up. So it's so interesting for me to have had that experience probably 20, 25 years before most of my friends, and go, my girl, you don't need to be so brave and just be like, okay, now I've got to do this tax thing, and now I've got to do this funeral thing. You've got to have a minute. This is your why. You're in the world.
That wailing part you spoke about, do you know other people that have experienced that? Is that
yeah,
that's incredible.
I think it's okay for me to say, I hope she's okay with it. I know that happened to Anika Moore as well, when she lost her dad, and that was something that we kind of bonded on. We're like, whoa, that happened to me too. Especially because we didn't think we were particularly connected as Māori, and then this really ancient sound comes out of us.
It's a hectic sound to hear. It's the same in our culture too. When you hear that after someone has passed, it's like, okay, that is strong.
Yeah.
And your point about losing a parent early it's a crazy one. So I was 28 when Dad died. Miles before, all my friends, their parents are still here for the most part. And it's a stink club to be a part of, but it's also, I'm thinking of your responsibility element. You know what's coming for your friends in the future and the sorts of things you can do at that time to prepare them for it. But there's also a shit part of it, which is I have a son, you have kids, and they don't know that grandparent. I didn't know two of my grandfathers as well. So there's an absence that you have as a parent that you'd love to share these moments with that parent who's not there, which is the same situation for you. Your kids were born after Sue had passed.
Yeah, but have you ever had a thing where especially little kids will gravitate to a picture of a grandparent? Yeah, and I remember my sister did that as well, and they talk about them, they know them. It's like, you can explain whatever you want. They know them. They've been with them before and they're still looking after them. And one thing that I've realised, because I started to get embarrassed, I was like, oh, geez, I always talk about my dead mum. But one thing I realised is that your relationship with that person doesn't stop just because they've died. Obviously, it's more one way, but you still have things that they impact you upon. You still do things because they did it like that. They impact your thoughts, your way of life. You can still speak to them. They can still give you little messages. That's what I believe. And so the relationship and your understanding of them continues. So I feel like when I had kids, and understandably midwives and nurses say, well, what was it like for your mum? And I go, I don't know, because I didn't think to ask. Yet I'd call mum and say, Mummy, please come and help me. I need you. Yeah. And I guess it actually hasn't been that many times that I've felt like she was really definitely there, which is pretty annoying and pretty slack from her. I don't know what she thinks she's doing. But one was our wedding day for sure. And I don't care what anyone says. She woke me up that day. I just felt like she just literally lifted me up off the bed. And I think I said, Mum. And then everything was golden. And I was just like, just like having your heart lifted up. And I knew she was there. And I did also say, you could have been here this time. But I'm glad you're here today. Yeah. So I think, I really hope people realise you don't have to stop talking to them just because they're not here anymore. And also, how cool is it when you see your parent in your kids?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
My niece, my sister's blonde. My mum was brunette. My niece comes out me thinking, oh, yeah, she'll be a little blondie like her mum. Oh, hello, little Sue. Like basically the vision of our mother. And we're like, oh, cute little ghost. And she's like a gorgeous child who's very much like mum. So that kind of thing I totally hadn't expected. And yeah, forgotten could be a possibility.
This whole conversation and what you're talking about, the grandkids not knowing their grandparents, it's why we started our reflections business. So a year ago we started it, and it's basically we go and capture the life stories, and it is the most incredibly fulfilling work. It's 95-year-olds, and they tell their life stories in their words. And it's a conversation like this, and you pick their brain about all the different parts of their life so that their grandkids can hear it one day. And it's just the most rewarding and most beautiful thing we do. And I always say it's the best use of our skill is to capture people's story in their history, because once they're gone, those stories are gone. So you need to pass them down and we need to capture them. It's just the most important thing.
And I guess another element of that is like that's also how we speak of our ancestors and our tupuna. So the more that you talk about them and know what they did and know why we name this area Waikato, know why we, why we call it te aroha, te murimuri aroha o kahu ki uta ki tai. That's also a way to keep people alive. So there is a saying, ko ko tātou te urupā tangata. So we are the resting place of our ancestors, of our parents, of those who've gone before us. And so that's a way that we can literally continue their existence. And I think that's why we need to know about who we are. And that's why we can know about who they are. And then that's really powerful. And I think, and you're honouring them. Yeah.
Do elements of Sue come through in your parenting?
Yes, I think so. I think so. I mean, as much as I say I adored my mum, we were mean to our mum as well, and my girls are mean to me. It's just that thing, like my mum would, like, she'd go, ah! and like, oh, and she always called me a little shit. Oh, you little shit. And like in a nice sort of, like, you can't actually, like, that's not a great telling off. It doesn't feel like, you're like, okay, lady. But we still say that. Like Scotty will say, oh, tika te kōrero a tō mama, your mum was so right, you're a little shit. That's what you are. But yeah, she, and I mean, Dad, that was his first wife, remember, of 3, he's always really, really kind about her. And I must say they're, from childhood sweethearts to then how they were at the end was really special, you know, and I think they were both 45, 46 at the time. So, you know, to have seen that gave me a lot of comfort as well. And so I know, yeah, as much as it's that big hole in life, I really would have loved my kids to know her, and they still carry her name and those kind of things. But sometimes Dad says I'm becoming a bit more like her. Yeah, and I hope so. Yeah. She was not out in the front sort of person all the time. And so, yeah, she was just someone who I guess, really loved. But I feel sad that from 37 to 45, she just had so much of a rough road with breast cancer, and then when the cancer spread in her body. But she got to be at Tash and Awan's wedding, and she knew, I said to Awan, you know, one of the things I appreciate about you the most is that you gave my mum comfort that she knew my sister was going to be okay and that she'd found the love of her life. So it's pretty cool.
Does Matariki, for you guys, is that a chance for you to remember your mum? Do you get together as a whānau during Matariki and do the remembrance part?
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, we're actually usually really busy at Matariki.
Oh, yeah,
we go around telling everyone this is a time of rest, and then we are really, really busy. For sure. But I mean, I talk to Mum all the time, and I also say to her, can you do this for me, please? Can you look after this one? Can you tell me? And like, she had a favourite song, You To Me Are Everything. And so whenever that plays, we're all like, oh, here she goes, you know, those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, as I say, that kind of, once you dig into that kind of well of emotion and grief, you can feel aroha, feel empathy for when other people feel it. So that wailing, for instance, I didn't mean to do it, but now it just comes out of me. And I remember being in a situation with an older mum, and we were going on because her son had tragically died from cancer as well. And I planned to, the whānau asked me to karangana, I planned to do that, but in the end I just ended up wailing. And she started crying, and she said to me later, she goes, thank you, I needed that. I hadn't cried yet. And that is actually the purpose as well, to help other people unlock their emotions. So, yeah, I guess that's something that, like I say, you don't always have to have grown up knowing all of this because it is you. So it's like an uncovering or a recovering. Yeah. And then you go, oh no, that's who I am. So when you are, like, say, back with, you know, in that setting of where your whānau come from, it's so fascinating. You can just feel it all swirling around, right? But because it's so big, that's why it's not as easy as going, no, you know what I think I'll do? I'll just go and open a book and learn my language. It's deeper than that.
I'm going to take us on a bit of a detour, and I want to talk about some of the jobs you had. When I read out that big list at the start, there was a few that grabbed my attention. I don't think we had McDonald's Young Entertainers on there, but that was one of them. There's the home and away cultural advisor and producer on Sportscafe. Which of those is the most interesting to talk about?
Home and Away was pretty short. I think it's only because Home and Away is so famous that's of interest to anyone. Producer of Sportscafe, it was kind of in those last years. Rick Solizzo, great man, hilarious man. It was so funny though with Mark Ellis. Everyone just went wide berth. Mark gets to do whatever he wants, and so trying to produce someone like that is like,
so it was your job to try to.
Do we think Mark's going to turn up? He was actually always really nice to me, which was always I'd look behind me and go, "Is he talking to me?" But I guess that's a really interesting thing about star power. Like some people, you go, "Oh well, don't bother them. They just get to do whatever they want." And I think it's pretty interesting to see that in action, right? Because to your point around how did I figure out my dad was famous, it's because how people talk and how people react. And I remember my daughter saying, "Why is Uncle Temuera famous?" Like Temuera Morrison. Mm. And they'd seen it in Australia. They thought, oh yeah, he might be well known here, but like, why is that happening in Australia? And we're like, because of basically Once Were Warriors. The kids just watched that at 13 and they all came in and their eyes are just like,
oh my God.
What is wrong with Uncle Cliff? How come Uncle Tim looks so tough? What is happening here? That was so sad. I cried. That was traumatizing. I was like, yeah, you take me back. That's how we all felt. But then that really interesting thing about seeing how people react to fame, I guess I saw that quite a lot on Sportscafe. And I saw, people who have a presence like that. That's why Sportscafe worked, because everyone wanted to be around it.
Yeah.
They wanted to go, yeah. We're at the Sportscafe with everybody else, and this is cool.
So was it actually your job, when Mark would sort of turn up drunk or
allegedly
pretend to be drunk and not show it, that was your job to actually keep the show together?
Yeah, I mean, the floor manager had to do that part, but I was more like, what are we going to do when Mark is drunk? And also just, to be honest, it was such a well-oiled machine by the time I turned up. I wasn't really, I had a clipboard. That was about it. Yeah. I don't think Mark would even probably remember that season. It was a short season, but I do remember I was with Scotty by then. And so it was just Rit Solizzo, cool man. I always remember going to De La Salle College with him and John Kirwan, actually, because it was the old school and they're really proud about that. And we just all happened to be there doing a rangatahi thing, youth thing. And I remember they all sang, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Beautifully.
Yeah.
And I just went, oh, okay, this is why you're like this, Rick. This is why you're kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are your people as well.
Yeah. What about McDonald's Young Entertainers? Because there are some shows, and Sportscafe and McDonald's Young Entertainers certainly fall into that category. For some reason, they just have a hold on people of our age, I think. Yeah. Well,
they're iconic, as the kids say. But no, also they just become a cool memory, right? So, first of all, you tell me what you remember.
Well, we bumped into Adrian Stevenon the other day at TVNZ, who I had to remind Stephen who he was as we walked out. He's like, McDonald's Young Entertainers, yeah. Okay,
they can never not be that person.
Because I recognised them, and he was like, "Oh, the brother knows exactly who I am."
He knows the look on the face.
Yeah. He would have seen it before. But yeah, it was an iconic show. It was. How much McDonald's did you get to? Because Jason Gunn allegedly had a card that he could just go through any drive-through, and he would just get whatever he wanted.
He'd just use his face. He doesn't need a card. I don't remember getting many McDonald's, but I do remember I didn't like the judging. That was horrible.
You and King Kapisi?
Yeah, that was horrible. Like saying it to kids' faces.
Yeah. Because there'd be an expectation to kind of, someone's got to be bad cop, right?
And go, you were great and you've got 2 out of 10, But I do remember like some people who were on the show, they say, remember, we were back, they're on Young McDonald's Entertainers or whatever it was. But as I say, is there a theme here? I do think it was the tail end of that show as well. It's like, we haven't got anyone else. Bring in Stacey. So it was a bit like that. But Jason's another person that people can't believe he's a real person because he's Jason Gunn. Yeah. That's an interesting one. So I've kind of witnessed that my whole life. It's like they go, oh, your dad's James Daniels. And I realise when you say your first and last name, that means that you don't really see them as a real person.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like Jason Gunn.
Yeah.
He is, it's not Jace, or it's Jace the Ace occasionally, but it's Jason Gunn, Simon Barnett. Like 2 named people, they're legit.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Scotty Morrison.
Yes. And
He's in that category, isn't he?
I don't know.
I reckon.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yes, actually, probably in some settings for sure. Whereas some people are first name, like one name only, like Timuera. You know, so that's an interesting thing, especially in a small country, to see who's got that mana. Yeah. I like how the kids describe it as aura. That's cool.
Oh,
yeah.
My boy started saying aura.
Yeah, aura, but aura is like mana. And now I only have aura. The only times my girls have said I had aura was when she asked if Te Ariki Nui Koini Ngā Waihono e Te Pō knew who I am. She's like, aura. And also, I think Eru Kapakingi, that was it. Yeah.
Aura. I'm going to insert that into my vocab.
Yeah, go on. It's going to fly. It's going to be great.
We are sponsored by One New Zealand, and in each episode we like to talk to our guest about Connection, because together we're the Connection platform. And we want to talk about your group chats. Do you have any memorable group chats that you're involved with, or any ways that you act in them which are interesting?
I speak excellent GIF. I want to call it like my fourth language. Like, I am amazing. I even had to do a tutorial for Anika Moore. She's like, oh no, actually Azura, who I work with, she's like, how do you find the good ones? I go, well, it's all in your prompt. It's all in the word. I have a ridiculous amount of group chats. I will start the group chats. I know that people roll their eyes when I start another group chat, but I'm still doing it. And you know I really love you if I don't actually talk to you or write a message. I just send you GIFs and reels. That's when our love is real.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure your real life is better than your real life.
So work on the prompts, though, to make sure that you've got...
I just found out that the emojis, you know, the crying face emoji, apparently that's like outdated now.
Yeah.
And if you send that, that's a sign that you're too old.
Oh,
so
really?
Cringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cringe.
Is that a truth? Is
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's out.
What emojis are
Don't
people
you
sending
need to
now?
Clock it.
What?
You need to clock it.
What does that even mean?
Like, clock it. Like, you're going to need to, like, clock something. You go, oh, you know, I saw that. And then, yeah.
Yeah.
I am
Clocked it.
out of this.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, but still LOL works. The other thing that's interesting
Lots of love.
about, yes, I guess group chats and text chat of the moment is I thought it couldn't get any worse than my kids going, bruh, even though they're speaking Māori, but they go, bruh. And then my daughter called me sis. And I was like, oh, no, that's it.
You've made it.
We've
Aura.
reached here.
Right, let's bring Scotty in again. The decision to raise your children in fluent te reo, I'm really interested in this. Was that an easy discussion to have, and how did you go about it? And did you use any English at home, or were there rules?
Yeah, there were rules, although it was just sort of a vision. And so, as I said, Ngaitahu started a plan in the year 2000, post-settlement, called Kotahi Mano Kaika, Kotahi Mano Wawata, so 1,000 homes and 1,000 aspirations to have Māori living in the home, because really once a language is the language of the home, that's when you can say, okay, it's thriving, it's genuinely a living language. And so that was always the ideal, and I'd already, like, we got together in 2004, so I'd already been part of those things and went kind of, this is what's going to happen. He also had an idea of both of his kids' names that he wanted, and it was Hawaiki and Kurawaka, and those two names relate to each other. And so both of us kind of had a vision of, like, this would be how we want to raise our kids. And then the realities of it kicked in, of going, okay, wow, I don't know the word for podaka, for a cot. I don't know words about nappies. Like, I haven't had to talk about this. And then I remember when my son was little, he'd say things like, he was 1 year old, he'd go, "Hea tēnā?" What's that? "Hea tēnā?" And I go, "Hey, I don't know what's the word for ladybug." I've never had to know what a ladybug is. And so I would look it up, and then that became the culture of our whānau. So he'd come out with, 1 year old just walking, and he's got this big dictionary, the Ngata dictionary, and he's going, oh, me kimi kupu, I have to look for the word. And no, that's the part of the culture of our whānau, is that when we don't know a word, we look it up. He had it upside down, but he got the idea. Yeah. And then I'd say, mumutawa. Mumutawa is ladybug. And I'd say, hey, mumutawa. And we'd go, mumutawa. And I go, mumutawa, remember it, mumutawa. And then the next week, I remember we saw one, and I said, titiro hemu. And I'm trying to remember it. He goes, mumutawa. Because they're little kids with massive sponge brains, and they'll remember it for you. So I just sort of use them as a post-it note in the end to go, hey, and he goes, mumatawa. And as I say before, that's the hard thing. The more fluent you get, the easier it gets. You have to get fluent first. So there's this really hard part before it gets easier. And then it was just, our kids weren't great sleepers. There was sort of the cultural difference of Plunkett saying, now your child is not sleeping in bed with you, are they? And I went, no. And then our mentor in Kaumātua, who our son's named after, said, kei te moi tō tātou pipi ki tō taha, ne? Your baby is sleeping with you. Our baby's sleeping with you, aren't they? I went, yeah, aye. But, Plunkett's saying, and I was not a smoker, I was, never had safety measures and all that kind of stuff, but just, lots of different little challenges of kids not sleeping, being tired. I was getting up early to go to work. Both of us going, we need to update, the language that we have. I have no mates who are on the same buzz, so we started a community group or a play group to kind of, have people who are on the same buzz, and that sort of grew from there, and that's why we wrote books as well to go, if this was hard for us, who are two people who are quite fluent, or he's definitely fluent, then it's hard for everyone, and we just want to make it, easier to stay in. And it's also okay to go just a little, maybe just a little bit of Māori sometimes, or whatever your language is. But bilingualism is so fascinating to witness in children when they truly can just go boom, boom. The information's there, just sitting there for them. Whereas for us as adults, you tend to go, But that coding and cross-braining, I've got this video of my son who is 5 teaching his sister who's 3 to read English, but he's using Māori to instruct her and going, kaue pena, okay, pānuitia inai nei, said Hannah, o mea, ki mai koe tēne, Mom, those kind of things. It's like they have so much potential, and it's so fascinating to go, it's different for them than it even is for us of how fluent they are. Like now I can just think in Māori, but it took me years. And that's for them, that's what they do. That's the language that we communicate in. So our eldest son is 19, lives in Australia, but we still always speak Māori to each other. And he notices when he doesn't speak Māori. Sometimes it's sort of like not having your veggies, I think. Yeah.
If someone came over to the house and they weren't a fluent Māori speaker, would you switch to English, or do you stay Māori?
We tend to speak Māori to each other and English to the person who is an English speaker. And we didn't do any formal, setting, but you tend to do it. And just because it actually feels awkward to speak English to our kids, it's like this is kind of like breaking a spell. Yeah, so it's kind of like this is the language. You know how you create a dynamic with someone and it's hard to... But people just knew this is a Māori speaking house. And then sometimes we'd try, even kids who are fluent, they tend to just flip into English once they get into the car or they come out of school. And so sometimes I went through stages going, hey, waka kōrero Māori tēnei, this is a car we all speak Māori in. And they know that. And I've even had friends say to me, geez, how come my kid will speak Māori to you but they won't speak Māori to me? And I was like, because I've stuck to it and I've been that auntie. And they know, this is the auntie that speaks Māori to me. So they just get used to it. And we've had people, when kids stay with us for a long time, one, we kind of went, okay, this is prep school. They're getting ready to go to Rumaki, and that was intermediate level. And we're like, they'll stay with us for a few weeks, and it's kind of like Māori boarding school at the Morrison's house. And so you can just see how quickly they can reply rather than thinking, far out, what am I saying? But we've got, it's one of those things. I've had people say to me, you don't hear many people speak Māori, do you? And I go, yeah, I do. But it depends who you roll with.
Yeah.
And I'm really mindful actually that Scotty and I will go to things like New Zealand of the Year, and we'll meet these people who are sirs and dames who maybe will never be in a kohanga reo or total immersion environment, and yet we have that range of experiences. So that's why we feel like, I'd love it if you guys can understand that you guys are actually, we're all the same.
I want to talk about I keep hinting around your relationship with Scotty.
It's a 20-year secret.
I've teased it about 5 times now. No, I've actually got some voices to bring in because we asked Anika what she thought. And she said, I think that together they are the driving force. They're a team. They do everything together. If he's achieving, it's because of her, and if she's achieving, it's because of him. One thing I love about them as Māori is they've got a whānau who have their beliefs and hold strong to them and live how they talk. They're a really good example of a whānau that's not drinking, drugging or abusing, because a lot of Māori were brought up around that stuff. And if we can see more people like that who are achieving without that influence, then it gives us a lot of hope for our Māori generation, especially our rangatahi. Fuck, I sound like a diplomat, don't I? But she's also a bitch, okay?
And that's the constant stream of thought that I was dealing with for 20 minutes.
I love her.
It was amazing.
Oh, I'm so proud of Anika. That's cool, eh? That is cool. And that is true. When don't worry, we're not sitting there going, let's be role models today. I mean, what would that be like? Yuck. But
there would be a perception that that's what you would do, though.
really?
I imagine so.
Wow. That I can't get my head around that. But what I do know is
It's like how you were talking about Mark Ellis and Star Power. There would be people that go, there's Stacey and Scotty.
yeah. I mean, I guess one thing that I love about what she said, by the way, Anika went on this whole tangent for a bit. She's like, could we just borrow your husband? Like, we're lesbians, so it really doesn't count. And I was like, wow, whakapapa's pretty important. But I guess the thing is what I do see is people sort of projecting on us a bit. Like, it's really random. You started with those weird things I do, like, handstand twerking and stuff. But they project on us that we're going to be, I don't know, something like, royal family or something, like there's certain things you can't do. And what I do think is that when you have a partner who is high energy, high determination, it would be strange if we weren't matched in that way. And as an example, like, he's literally a black belt in jiu-jitsu and karate. And I guess part of it for me is like, I couldn't have done the same thing at the same time. And we did go through a phase where I went, hey, you know how you just disappear from the house on a Tuesday night? Let's just talk about your jiu-jitsu schedule, because I notice you're not there. He's like, but you might say I can't go. I would never say you can't go, but just let's make a plan so that I know what we're doing and we are doing it. And you are getting your black belt, and I will turn up and I will be there and I will give you a special taonga and I will do a karanga and I will say how much I realise this is meaningful for you and this is your church, basically. This is everything. Like, there's tahatina, it's physical, it's spiritual, it's social for him. And so but buddy, let me in on what our plan is here. But I would feel, I don't think it would work right if you have someone like that and then you go, and by the way, I'm just going to be in a chip eating competition, and never be active, that kind of stuff. So yeah,
that leads quite nicely into what Melody Robinson sent us too. She's your cousin. Mm-hmm. Said she's in a power couple with the beautiful Scotty Morrison, but what people don't really know is that Stacey is the power behind Scotty. She organises his life. She sorts out where he's going to be, all of the conferences, everything. Scotty needs to send her a big bunch of flowers more often.
Oh, that's so cute. Well, in my husband, I do think you need to protect people's energy and be protective of them, and I do feel like that. I see things probably that he doesn't see in terms of how he's perceived. He doesn't, he would never think of himself as a big deal. So I guess there's some things that I will be protective of. But in terms of his schedule, that's just his way of coping. He just is not an email guy. He'll just go delete. And I go, did you see that email? And he goes, yeah. Like, I thought you'd do it. And I was like, I did. But he's the CEO of Laundry. He takes that really, really seriously. Yeah. And he does, heaps of things. He's like, basically the only thing he hasn't done in our whānau is breastfeeding. And so he'd be up in the middle of the night. He'd be that guy. So I guess the other thing is trying to be in flow, like yin-yang of, he's going really hard. Takati's had to really fight for existence this year. And while I said to him the other day, I said, should I get a proper job? And he said, no, this is fine. We're all good. This is working, and it kind of needs, generally we try to be there for our girls this phase of life. And I have been asked to go into some things I think, no, I really just don't think that'd be good for our kids. And the other thing I'm really mindful of is the cycle of life going again. When I was James Daniel's daughter, now they are Scotty Morrison's kid.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to be a pressure that they don't like. I'm not in control of what everyone does or how they perceive them, but I think it's really important that our kids have their own mana motuhake, their own autonomy about what they decide to do. And I heard my daughter saying to someone the other day, I think I'd like to study this and do, because it's really cool. I can say to my dad, I go, what does that mean about anything? I kupu katoa, all of the words, and he knows. And I ask him this and that, and I go, my mum knows a little bit of that. but I'm so proud that she feels good about him. But I don't want it to be a pressure like you said, okay, your dad's in radio, is that why you went in radio? It definitely, if they want to, cool, but I think it's really important that kids are recognised as having their own mana. They don't have to be a mini us.
I want to talk a little bit about radio, which we haven't really spoken about. Flava, so helped launch the station and was sort of on and off there for a period of about 20 years, and it sort of came to an end at the end of 2024. What takes back to the beginnings of Flava and how it came about and what your role was and how you look back on that time?
Yeah, so that was 2004, and I'd been at Mai from about 1996 with Rob Rakete, and so that was kind of like, I guess, what Rob and I have referred to as a divorce period, and I ended up going back when he left to go to the Breeze and had a farewell, and that was really good because we were able to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, but that was just an opportunity I got given. And randomly, at that time, my dad was brought in to be the boss of Flava. So he was the one who said, this is, job offer. And I said at the time, I go, that's not worth it. It's not, by the way, we weren't talking massive money, but it's not really worth that. And he would say to people, that little bitch. And, but then in the end, I worked there, me, Oscar, Kitely, so that we kind of went, this is a hip-hop and R&B station. And it was cool because 2004 was still great music coming out then. But if I think about my time where I'd worked in the 90s, we were going, here's a brand new song called California Love. And the same week we're going, here's No Diggity, No Doubt. It's just like, wow, what an era. Mm. And literally when Tupac died, when Biggie Smalls died, so this amazing era. And then 2004 was another flush year, so just great music. And I was on Breakfast, and I guess, to be honest, they were making a competitor against Mai at the time. But I got to work with my dad, and my sister worked there as well. And that's when the Warrior Partnership sponsorship happened, probably because of Arwen. He was still playing for the Warriors at that point. There was a quad bike incident where we had so they used to let you have quad bike races like on the field. Can you imagine? They'd never do that now. And so I think it was at half time, and I won. I was really determined to win, but I didn't stop fast enough, and I crashed into crashed into what are those things called?
The signboards.
Yeah. Oh. I just missed a security guard as well, but I won.
Yeah, you would have seen a lot of radio stunts over your years.
Yeah. And we weren't very stunty, but that just happened to accidentally be a stunt that I still had someone come up to me last year and go, hey, remember that time that you crashed into the signboards at the Warriors on a quad bike? I'm like, wow. Yeah.
What a wild period of hip-hop to be like announcing during as well. Just thinking about that, like I remember 95, 96 being huge.
We're just thinking it's normal though too.
Yeah.
We're just like, look, here's another song. Definitely. And especially because at that time, remember, you couldn't really record things very easily, and that was the only source of watching music. And so like 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning with, maybe, I can't remember what time, 10:30, my time was like people going, we have to watch this because we've got this brand new song. There's Erykah Badu, there's D'Angelo, there's, all of these amazing, Mary J. Blige, Toni Braxton, just hit after hit after hit. And we were the only ones who were playing hip-hop and R&B, particularly the videos, which are iconic as well. Like those outfits were humongous. Yeah. And at the time, I remember like Bennett Paulmana, Mike haru, they were real hip hop people. And they were going, yeah, Biggie Smalls that. And I was going, yeah, Biggie Smalls. We know what you're talking about. And so it was like learning that and learning Māori. And then people say, oh, you guys are being too American. There's supposed to be a Māori show. And then other people going, oh, this is cool because we get how you can be Māori and be interested in these, these natural drawn sort of relatability with American and hip hop culture. And so, yeah, it was a really golden age. We're really lucky. And that's when I also started working at My FM. So My Time, My FM, and then eventually Flava.
Whose idea was it's called Te Kōrero?
I actually think it was Ngāti Whātua, because My FM is an iwi station. The frequency belongs to Ngāti Whātua. So we always called it Te Reo Irirangi o Ngāti Whātua, the radio station of Ngāti Whātua. And we're really staunch about that. We were told that. And I'm pretty sure they started, it's called Te Kōrero. And then there was also Ruia Mai, which was the all Māori language news. And Scotty actually worked there as well. So I sort of knew him as one of the bros, but not really, yeah.
I don't know if you're open to talking about it, but at the end of Flava, I think December 13th, 2024, I've read that you lost...
Just December 13th.
I think.
You lost your voice. And on that day, I've spoken to a few of your sort of friends. They all thought it was a really good thing because it freed you up and it has allowed you to actually spread your wings and do these things that you weren't trapped by radio for. But I imagine, like, at the time, was it a surprise? And, like, how did you feel about it?
Yeah. And I think, the last couple of years, a lot of people have had jobs disappear and unexpectedly. And I didn't want to be dishonest about that and say, oh, I'm just moving on to XYZ. I just went, yeah, I don't have a job anymore. And I don't have, I think the physical manifestation of that was I did happen to lose my voice. And it's no big, woe is me scenario, but I just wanted to go, I don't want anyone else who's in this situation to feel like it's them. And it's just that the job market has changed and it will happen. And so when it happens, it's okay to say, yeah, this is what's happening for me. I'm not quite sure. I'll see how I go. Don't need to make any big announcement. But I wanted to be honest because I don't think it's fair to have people listening to you every day and sharing a bit of their world, listening to you on the way to work or whatever, and then you start lying to them and go to protect your ego, to go, well, I'm just such a big deal that I will always have an ongoing job. I don't think that's cool. So I just said, yeah, I don't have another job as yet, but I will be free. And I went, don't fall into the trap when people say, what are you doing now? I go, I've got a few things happening. Then I went, I'm a Kaupapatologist. But they like it. They honestly, when I go, oh, well, we've got a new series coming up of Hidden Treasures. I'm doing a little bit of R&C. They go, oh, okay. They literally go, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I need the world to make sense.
Yeah.
I need to feel like there's still jobs out there. And it's a genuine concern for a lot of people. And so when we're feeling scared, I think if you have a chance to go, it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to not be sure. I just think you should do that. And that's me sitting there, my privilege now. I've got a husband who still had a job at that point.
Yeah.
But all media is different now. It's not.
Yeah, that's the reality of broadcasting and entertainment, right? Like all of those jobs I read out at the start, you don't work in them anymore. Like they
don't exist. Most of them. Well, yeah. Like shows don't exist.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
TV shows. And
so that's an interesting thing. Like when you're doing podcasts and everything, how much do you feel like you need to be on social media going, brand, this is my brand, this is who I am?
It's different between us. I'm essentially absent, really. I don't hardly do anything. I mean, on the podcast channels, yes, overexposed this week, if you ask me. But on my personal stuff, no, I try to keep a low profile.
But I would say we made a conscious choice from the start to build up the Between Two Beers social channels, right? So we've got 200,000 followers across our Between Two Beers channels, and that's what does all the talking. We're kind of faceless in a way. It's the clips and stuff because I think naturally we're not that comfortable doing social media, sort of leaning into it more. But it's an interesting one, right? Because I know at the Herald I worked with a lot of journalists there, and everyone, especially in the sports team where I worked, they are so did not want to have their face out there and have developed these personal brands. But now the way that media and journalism is going in particular, you kind of need one especially if you're looking to step outside of your lane of a big media organization, and it's forcing some people into areas they're not comfortable in.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because, authentic stuff always works. And it's funny because then you go, oh, good, that part where I cried or I talked about my baby, that's the part that everyone wants to talk about. And that happened to me as well, around about that time when my son moved overseas. I don't want to say too much because it's his life, but I had a woman come up to me at netball and she goes, I cried watching you today. And then I showed my mum and I showed my auntie. I was like, oh, great. I'm the blubbering mother. But what it is like when you do something that people go, far out, that's me too. That's what resonates, but you can't control that. You can't always know it. And if you're always trying to say, let me say the thing that makes everyone resonate, it doesn't fly either. But it's such an interesting time to go, how much do I have to say, this is me, brand? And I don't think it's a really natural Kiwi experience. So, and sometimes like not knowing everything about someone is a good thing because you fill in the gaps. Like, do you know Jason Gunn's, preferred drink of wine? No, you don't. No. Yeah.
Not anymore. Not if you stop. Not
I'm not going to say Fanta.
Yeah. Not if he stopped replying. But this is an area that you're interested in, right? Is futures and future technologies. Because are you doing a master's in?
Yeah. And yes, I'm doing a master's in digital technologies at Academy X. And so there's a lot of people who are going, I'm not done yet. I'm going to keep on learning. And also the interesting things, everyone knows about AI and exponential growth. Wow. Just even the last couple of years, even when it comes to translation, when it comes to what AI can do or what jobs it's taking, really fascinating. And so I knew I was interested in that and I wanted to kind of be more future ready. So that's why I jumped on and did that. I sort of felt like, what will it feel like if I don't do it? I'll probably regret it. And it is full on. It's a lot of work, but I'm really grateful. And it feels like then you can, like I've done a mini AI course as well to go, when people are fearful, these are the things that are understandable to be fearful about, and these are some things you've got to apply some critical thinking to, and then think about our particular position in Aotearoa. How is this going to affect us? What is it going to affect? Like I know at New Zealand of the Year, everyone was talking about energy sovereignty, electrify everything, solar power, and then how technology impacts that as well. So it's like if you're a lifelong learner, then it's a natural thing to do, right?
What's down the pipeline? What are we looking at?
You will see, I'm going to obviously be global. No. I have...
No, I mean in future technologies.
I guess one thing in our country, so they look at us for data centres, to be able to power the great big global tech. And I think we have to be careful about that because we have space, but we don't have enough water to run that. So all of those things that actually relate, you think tech is just on your phone, but it impacts your environment. So I think we need to be really mindful and onto it and thought leading and how we actually make sure that Aotearoa is really future ready. And I think we have an opportunity, particularly in terms of energy, to go, we can generate more renewable energy from here and technology will help you. And also to go, AI is still pretty culturally bland. And it can promote bias and it can take data for nefarious reasons. And so how can we be actually think about how tikanga in all our different ways, tikanga in terms of best ways of doing things from a data perspective, but also from our cultural perspective can actually mean that we come up with something really unique and powerful and go, New Zealand has led the world in this way. So I think in lots of ways, technology has just caught up with the brilliance, say, that we have been left by our ancestors. So that's really exciting. And because especially our culture is so seated in our humanness. So I think our humanity will actually, when it meets technology in the right place, that's where it's most powerful. So rather than replacing the human experience, if the human experience guides technology, I think we'll be all right.
How much are you using AI in your personal life?
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
I realise when I'm doing assignments, I'm not very good at doing that. And then we went, and my husband, this is ironic because he really doesn't do technology. He said, just see what it comes up with for your literature review. And I'm like, wow, that was really helpful. And then you've got to make sure you don't plagiarise everything. But, use different ones. I try not to just stick to the usual ChatGPT. I think about ownership. I think about data protection, all those kind of things. And also there's opportunities with small language models, particularly for, say, a heritage and endangered language like Māori. There's opportunity within small language models to look after te reo Māori, not just put it out to the world and let, anything be done with it. We do just have to be onto it. What's hard is making sure that our unique and small way of being becomes a powerful thing, not just something that makes us be left behind. And then I'm also, I guess, most concerned about equity of who gets access, what parts of New Zealand can access internet and can't, who's getting left out in terms of a digital gap and digital divide, and how that will impact education as well, and the jobs that our kids are actually going to do. Like when your kids are as little as your kids.
Yeah.
We don't know what their jobs look like yet. Yeah.
Podcast profession didn't exist.
No.
Yeah.
2 years ago. A few years ago.
Yeah. But it is your ability to talk to people, to be interested in humans, that is still the core kind of value and core skill set that you have, and that's always going to be relevant.
Transferable skills.
Got to make sure.
This has been such an epic conversation. I've got some big questions at the end, and they're going to take us all over the map. So take your time if you need, but hoping we can frame up with a few to end. What do you know now that you wish you'd known at 25?
I guess that your own measure of success is actually all that matters, and you don't have to run anyone else's race. You don't have to try to keep up with anyone else. It's not going to feel successful unless you've defined it as that's what you're aiming for. And also to trust in what you think is important, and trust in your version of love. Because I think, it's why someone like Olivia Dean has done so well, because she's just reminded us it's okay to love that hard. It's okay to be such an open, hearted person. And I think when you are like that, sometimes you get told not to be like that. Yeah, so that's one of the things I think. But really define your own success, run your own race. Don't feel like you have to keep up with anyone else, because you could run their race and win their race and get to their finish line and go, I don't even care. Yeah.
It's a great answer.
What's the thing people most misunderstand about you?
I get really hurt when people think that I don't have aroha or I don't care about people who can't speak our language, because that's who I have most aroha for, because I see the pain that it puts people, particularly Māori people, in. And that can turn up as quite fighty talk, but all I see is someone who's like, well, I'm just too frustrated, too hurt that I can't just pick that up, and you're pissing me off because you seem like you just got everything easily. So that hurts me. I didn't get things easily, but I agree I had privileges. So if people think that I don't check my privilege, I'd say that would be a misconception. I'm totally fine with admitting my privilege. One of them, being hetero. One of them's being, marrying the person I did, being able to access language learning, all of those things. I really don't find it hard to check my privilege, and I deeply appreciate it. And I don't think it's a bad thing to say. I really dislike it how people, have twisted those words.
At the start when I said I was feeling a bit intimidated about sort of speaking Māori, did that hurt you?
I get really bummed out. That's the opposite of what I was trying to achieve. So it's interesting to me. I don't understand what that is. Well, I do, but I don't think 5 foot me is intimidating.
No, I think if I'm thinking about because I had the same feeling when we had Guy and Espina on, who's one of the best interviewers in the country. I was like, shit, we're interviewing someone. And I knew we were going to be speaking with Māori about someone who is one of the best at it. But I don't think that's a justification for it. And I feel bad that I sort of had that in my head when it's exactly the thing that you don't want.
Yeah. It's just interesting, isn't it? It's what we project onto each other. And I guess in terms of what's intimidating, then we have to look at why, to go, okay, well, what would it mean to be wrong? Or what would it mean to stuff things up? It's not that big a deal. And I think it's good to just get used to failing. And I guess that was one thing of me talking about when I didn't have a job anymore. I wanted to talk about failure being part of success and be honest about it to my kids. Go, it's going to be up and down sometimes. It's going to be, it doesn't have to be linear. And hopefully that when you share that, the intimidation or projection that someone's doing to you kind of breaks down. But what I'd say is that the very reason that I would never shame you for trying to speak Māori is because I have been there as well. I have felt the shame. I felt the anguish. I felt the embarrassment and I did feel like giving up early and I did give up quite a few times. And so that's why I'd never shame anyone else for trying to do that. Intention is everything.
I would say, just in reflecting on this weird little situation I got myself in, I will never feel that way again.
Kia ora.
And
yay.
I feel like the listeners that are here along on this journey will take that same message, because I imagine it's not just me. It's
really
pretty
not.
It's pretty common.
Yeah.
But I won't, because of the messaging that we've heard today.
Tēnā koe, I'm glad, you know. But it's really layered. It's really... it's wrapped up in your growing up in New Zealand experience, and you go, oh right, we did just you know, we really shat on that language, and we continue to. So I guess that's where it's just comfort. You kind of, I think what it is as well, you want me to know who you are, and that you're a person who is a respectful person, even if you're not getting it right. Yeah, and I think again, if we tuned into aroha, which is not just love, but empathy and sympathy and reciprocity, then we'll see that in each other and we'll be able to have better communication. And so I think, honestly, activating more aroha in our country and Aotearoa is really important. It'll get us through tough times, and it is our supercharged superpower. Yeah.
Is it the fear of mispronunciation that catches you?
Yeah. It's the fear of a word that I should know, getting it wrong. Feeling like at this point where we are, I should know more than I do.
Yeah.
And tripping over something which is seen as really quite basic to others.
But do you feel the same way when you read an English word wrong?
No, if I read because I know English so well, if I read an English word wrong...
So good. You know English so good.
Because I'm real good.
Yeah. I feel like if I stumbled over an English word, it would probably be a bit of a tricky word that lots of people would stumble over.
Yeah.
And then I think with Māori, you go, well, people are going to expect me to be able to say it, or if I'm brown, maybe expect that I'm going to be able to say it. And so part of it is your self-identity. You're going, okay, if you look at me and I mispronounce that word, what are you going to think of me? Like, how are you going to racially profile me? Yeah.
What did I have that on? I did a Sky commentary. I can't remember what day it was, and I wanted to get it right. And man, I was so stressing about it. I was down in Wellington. I can't remember what it was for. But I had to practice and practice and practice and practice. And we did the rehearsal and I fucked it up. And I was like, oh, it's going to be easier not to do it. And then I did it, and then I messaged my wife afterwards. I was like, did that sound okay? She's like, yeah, it sounded perfect. Didn't sound like you were reading it. It sounded really well. But I was like, I'd put myself under so much pressure, even getting like no mai haere mai.
Yeah.
Like even trying to nail that at an intro, it's like, man, I put so much thought into it. I feel like Mike McRoberts, like how he was before he started, because I feel like there is a response when you are public facing or you are speaking, there is a responsibility to at least try and get it right, or at least.
Yeah, there is. And that's where it comes from. Not having done the work, like not knowing what I should have done and not having done it. And so I like we do a lot of emceeing together, and I'll always, if there's Māori words in it, or there's, I'll say, Shay, can you do that bit?
Yeah,
because
I know
I haven't. Yeah, but
say okay, ask the brown.
I go fuck. Okay, I better get this right. But yeah,
but that's where it comes from. Like if we're unpacking it, right? That's there is an obligation to be better.
Yeah, and so it's the lack of unpacking that actually triples your anxiety. Because you go, why do I feel so freaked out about this? Because I was also the person, they go, the brown person, you're like on McDonald's or Young Entertainers or something, say, tau marunui. I'm like, I don't really know either. And so that's why it makes us so scared. So that's just one layer. But I always think, try to centre what the bigger issue is rather than yourself. It helps me be less worried about what I'm doing, what I'm performing. If I go, okay, what's the big picture? What is really needed here? And the big picture here is that te reo Māori is in a precarious situation. It's often treated as secondary, unimportant. The laws of schooling actually made it so that Māori kids couldn't speak their language. So this is more important, like me making effort for that language is more important than how I personally feel freaked out. And so it's like decentering your own anxiety. And I will do that in situations of, broadcasting. I was thinking about Kingi Tuheitia's tangi, and I felt like it's what people call imposter syndrome, but it's sort of deeper and wider, like at a Māori level of going, I know there are people who are going, why is she getting to do that? Literally, they are thinking that. And I think, well, I know who asked me to do that. That is the right person. My job is to offer the person at home who needs to understand more, who needs to grieve, to release it for them. So don't focus on myself or my anxiety or hang up about it. Go, what is the service that I have to provide rather than what is my performance?
This isn't a big question, but we had a catch up with one of our friends who's a lawyer who was lamenting when his phone buzzes at like 9 o'clock at night of people looking for legal advice or how often is your phone going off with people saying, I've got a mihi I need to do, I've got a whakatau that how often is that happening to you?
Every week.
Yeah, every night?
Maybe, yeah. And you just have big runs. People go, sorry, but could you do, and can you send, and it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. The only one is, and I know Māori Millionaire says this as well, when people go, where can I buy your books? I'm like, there's a thing called Google, or it's in my bio. But no, in general, yeah, it's lots. And Scotty does heaps more, and you'll never know about it. He doesn't tell anyone.
Yeah, you're a bit of a steel trap as well though, right? You've done some high profile things that people don't realise that you've done. Proofreading of books, helping people do their bits and pieces. So your influence extends pretty far, right?
But also, it's honouring those people to go, they don't want everyone necessarily to know about that, and it's up to them how they talk about it.
These are good big questions. What's your best piece of parenting advice?
Manaaki here, wā tātou tamariki, looking after our kids in a way that we realise they are taonga, but not just the ones you gave birth to. There's a whole community of kids around us, and they need our aroha too. So I guess what I didn't realise is when your kids go to school, like that whole community and those parents become your people. So that's when we made all our friends come to the same school and like built sort of communities and, friend groups and things like that. So I think... Yeah, for me, as a parent, I try to listen. I try to give I guess the most important thing for me with my kids is to recognise I don't recognise anything about their childhood. They can speak their language and I couldn't. They are culturally secure and I wasn't. They know that probably the finances are okay and ours weren't. The parents are together in a loving marriage and mine wasn't. It's a safe home. All of those things mean that I don't really understand their childhood. So some of their reactions have to go, wow. And yet they will still have their own things that they'll go to a therapist about or whatever. So yeah, just knowing when we try to create something new for our kids, that means that we also have to watch and listen really carefully to go, so how does this turn up, this little experiment? Yeah.
What are you most proud of?
I am most proud of and grateful for my whānau and my husband and my life. I'm really, really grateful. I don't say that glibly. I am mindful that I'm not worrying about bombs dropping on me, that my kids are healthy. I'm very grateful for my health. And, I think a lot of people will relate to when you lose a parent young, their last age becomes this kind of benchmark that you're trying to head for, and it feels odd when you get more years than they had. And it's when you realise, okay, so if I get more years than they do, what do I need to do to honour them and that time that they didn't get? My health, my whānau, my life, my whenua, my Māoritanga, my Kiwitanga, my Pākehātanga.
We recently partnered with Barkers, and so they dress us for every episode, and we always
obvious.
love to ask our guests a question about some fashion advice or grooming tips, or what comes to mind when I ask you for.
It's okay if I tell you a story.
Please.
So it's out in the public now because Scotty shared this with Simon Dello when he left, and so when he left TVNZ, so now it's free reign. So one time Scotty had a photo shoot, and have you heard the saying that a suit on a man is like lingerie for a woman?
And now?
So that nice suit, hello Barkers. So he had to borrow a suit for a photo shoot because he didn't have one. And so the calibre of a Simon Dello suit, we're talking Ocean's 11, right? And Scotty's one was not good, but not as good. And he kept on wearing it. He kept on, and it turned into a few months. I was like, you have to give back Simon's suit. For one thing, I'm surprised you're the same size. And he's like, it's so good. And then we met at the airport to go to a wedding. I go, now you're breaking area codes rules. Like, you really can't be wearing Simon's suit to the 06. And this was a matter of months later. And he goes, okay, I'll give it back. And so he goes and puts the suit in the TVNZ dry cleaning pool. It comes back and he goes, put it in Simon's wardrobe, just hide it down the back. And Simon comes up to him in the newsroom and goes, someone put your suit in my wardrobe from the dry cleaning. And Scotty goes, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm like, you just stole a suit. It's not okay. But he told him at his farewell, and he said he doesn't even notice. He's got so many, but appreciate a suit. And my men, please remember, it's like a suit on a man is like lingerie on a woman. It's
Hope I'm okay to say Scotty does look good in a suit.
Yeah. And lingerie.
any day, all day. Suits.
Right, home straight. Life advice. We've done parenting advice. Is there a piece of life advice that you would like to put out there?
I think I'd just like to reiterate what Eva Rickard said, somewhere in my past is my destiny, because I think it's really important for us to understand who we are, how we got here, who contributed to who we are, and then what elements of all of them, which is just really miraculous when you think about it. And when you get to have a child and go, this is miraculous. Look at all of the ancestors that had to survive and choose to be with each other to be and make you. That's incredible. So what does that mean in terms of your life purpose and your destiny? And I think you deserve to live your destiny. And I think that's when your life is well lived. Whaia to say, go and find your destiny.
I'm so stoked that this has happened and we've had this chat. It's been quite revealing, I think, for a lot of reasons, but it's gone exactly the way I hoped it would. So thank you so much for coming down and spending time with us and sharing your life and your story. I've really loved it.
Yeah, such wide-ranging themes, but really centered and grounded in your belief system as well, which comes through no matter what topic we can talk about. It's really clear who you are and what you stand for, and it comes through in that conversation. I said to a few people, like, you've been a cultural reference point for me growing up. Like I remember you all the way through. But then the work that you're doing together with Scotty to bring te reo Māori into the light and also make it palatable and understandable and try and remove the barriers for people like Stephen and myself, I think is really important work, particularly in this country. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And I hope more people kind of can get on board and feel comfortable around not being scared to make mistakes.
Yeah, tēnā korua. Ki au nei ko korua hei tauira o te kotahitanga. I think you both sort of show what unity can do, and you're working to strengths. And look at that, you're like a little treaty relationship. You're like, I think what I really appreciate is seeing men talk about your feelings, about, being open about your emotions, and if that's what someone needs and they can access so easily, that's really special. He momorongoa, and that's like a healing. So congratulations. Tēnā korua, I think you're fulfilling your destiny.
Kia ora, Stacey. There are people you never want to forget. But people get old. Memories fade. And then one day, it's too late to ask the questions that matter most. That's why we created Reflections, to capture the magic before it slips away.
How did she like camping?
At Reflections, our award-winning interviewers sit down with your loved ones with time, care, and curiosity and capture their life story in their own words. The result is a beautifully crafted family documentary your loved ones will treasure for generations. One day, you'll want to hear that laugh again. We make sure you always can. Reflections, keeping family stories beautifully alive. Find us at reflections.life.